Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Amish Earther, Naughty Thumbnails, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Melby Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealon's Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Tina Baker, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Back in, I'm going to say 2019, what Linus Tech Tips did was restream to Twitch and YouTube, but encourage people on YouTube to go to Twitch, essentially saying, leave this current website that you're watching and go and watch this on a different website. And they got a community guideline strike and were prevented from live streaming for a period for breaking the community guidelines. There you go.
But is that where you just say, check out my links, and then that let that kind of run on its own?
Yeah, you have to be a bit ambiguous. What you can't do is encourage people to leave YouTube's website, which is obvious, isn't it?
Right.
You know, you can't say, oh, thanks for letting me use your website. What I'm going to now use your website for is to encourage people to go somewhere else. They want you to stay on their website as long as possible. That's all they're interested in.
Right.
So here we could say it, right? Just not live on the show or in the video.
Well, any time that I'm around, you can't say it, because every time I'm around, you've got to assume I'm recording always. But anyway, I will mention. I will stop you. Don't worry. It's my concern, not yours. You're now aware. Don't worry about it.
Just don't do
it. Nathan, the video, your response was a year ago, and this video I was talking about is from 6 months ago, so it might be a different one, but if you don't want to do the same guy again, I understand.
Oh, no, if it's a different video. This is Planet Peterson, right?
Yeah, it's quite a long one, so I don't know how much we'll be able to cover. I'll put it in the back office.
I vaguely remember him being hilarious.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I've seen him on TikTok, combating with flat earthers on there, so I didn't know he had full-length videos on YouTube.
Debunking a flat earther?
Yeah.
Have a little looky. That you used to ascertain the R value when you measured Earth flat to get an R value. Go ahead, John. Where's that coming from?
Hey, Nathan.
Yes. I found a video for the description and I've left it playing. I've just figured out where it is. I'll just turn that off. Very embarrassing. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, man, I'm sure you've read all the terms of service about switching or incorporating Rumble. But just to say, Russell Brand was on YouTube. He got demonetized on YouTube. But what he's doing is he will mention Rumble on his YouTube video weekly, saying that Rumble is his home. So he gets away with it somehow, mentioning Rumble
he's been
on
demonetized,
the YouTube video.
so he's not bothered about being demonetized. That's what we're worried about, getting demonetized, not having a channel strike necessarily, Roto. It's about the money, ad revenue.
So,
as I say, I wish I hadn't joined Discord when I tailed off that last conversation. Don't worry about it as a panel. You're here to debate flat Earth and talk about the nature of Earth. Don't worry about it. If I need to slap my YouTube hat on and tell you to not talk about something specific that's to do with the YouTube service, I will as and when. You guys don't need to worry about it. Honestly.
I don't know why they're all worried about it. Talk about flat Earth. Let's speak about John putting a presentation together from yesterday. That sounded interesting to me. My goodness.
Don't wear your cotton little socks off.
Don't worry your precious cotton socks about it. That's right. Right, I'm just going to sound check Planet Peterson to see if it's blasting area drums out or not. We'll see.
I'm just going to say, as a foreman,
Yes, I would suggest
running
you
the
say it
job,
just as I'm sound checking something, and I've specifically asked you to let me sound check something. Go ahead, Neil.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'd like to sound check Planet Peterson so he's not blasting everybody's eardrums out. Then music played. Then you started talking.
Consciousness as popular.
Earth isn't flat. Okay.
And what is your evidence to support that?
The sun. Well, we've been to space and have photos of Earth, but that's what I was talking about with the last guy. Humanity.
So who's who? Is the guy on screen Planet Peterson? I don't actually
I'm
remember
not
this guy. by his
familiar with
face.
him, to be honest.
So I'm not familiar with him either. I know we've covered the Planet Peterson video before, but perhaps he didn't
Yeah, we've
appear on
done him. I
camera.
recommended him from TikTok. I recommended him. He's left his YouTube channel behind pretty much for TikTok exclusively. So I don't know if he has any new content on YouTube.
Okay, well, this is a YouTube video, but it's so what you're saying, Gene, is it was you that recommended we cover him last time, and we just covered
Yeah,
his
a few
TikTok
months ago.
video.
Yeah, we did a few of his.
Really? Okay. And am I right in saying it was hilarious? Because I do remember it being very funny. I just can't remember what we clipped from him that was hilarious. Was he the guy that talked to nature?
No, that was another one, I believe. But I mean, they're so. I mean, there's a few of those guys around the same age, around the same look.
Okay. Well, we'll see how we get on with this. I think that's okay now. I've sound checked him. He's good. He's just, like most people, stuck a really loud video at the beginning to throw me off. Just give it one last check. Because we've got time to. Just one sec. Just one sec.
If you reject that, then that's fine because we don't need that. The fact that the night sky rotates in two completely different directions depending.
Does it? No, definitely not. Au contraire, you complete clown. Yeah, we'll have to get into this. This is already hilarious. So you think they rotate in different directions? No. They all rise in the east and set in the west, save for Polaris. They all do the same thing. Everywhere. There is no exception. What are you babbling about, you stupid clown?
He's not the only one. There's some flat earthers that say the same thing because of retrograde.
Retrograde? What do you mean retrograde?
That's what Mickey says.
Retrograde? What the hell does retrograde have to do with anything? Retrograde motion is the perceived motion of it moving slightly back in the following night sky. That's retrograde motion. What does that have to do with anything? I don't get it.
Neither do I, but that's what's been said.
So the angle to the star changes from one night to the next. How does that help a heliocentrist?
It doesn't. It damns them.
You got the video queued up. This is what we're gonna do when we start the show.
Mumble, mumble. One more time.
Said you have the video queued up. This is what we're going to review on the show.
Nah, I was just playing it for a bit of fun. Of course we're going to review it on the show. Why else would it be sound checking in?
Should I dig up some more TikToks or no?
Can you get a bit closer to your mic, Gina? I just can't quite make out what you're saying. I have moved one of my monitors in front of one of my speakers, but I don't think that's why it is.
I have this Xbox headset, so it's a fixed position. Do you hear me now?
Dude, you're just mumbling.
I'm not mumbling.
Oh, God.
I mean, I can hear him clearly enough. He's a little bit quiet for me, but
Got to be fussy.
He sounds crap to me.
Yeah, it's just too quiet. I could boost everybody else, but then I'd have to turn everybody else down individually to match Gene. Good job it's the pre-show. I hate these discussions when we're live. I really do. They make me cringe. I can't stand them.
Put some bass in your voice, Gene. Loud and clear, please.
He's got the ump. He's gone away all offended. Well, I'm going to get a coffee. We've got 10 minutes.
Did I hear Paul? Did I hear Paula before?
No.
Check.
Oh, okay, I thought I was hearing things. How you doing, Paula?
Doing all right. How are you?
Very well, very well.
That's good.
How's my mic?
Still crap, mate.
Gene, just speak up. You don't have to whisper here. You're amongst friends. Loud and proud.
Just FYI, I can hear him loud and clear. And I'm just in Google Meet. I don't know if it's a Discord thing.
I'm on the Yeti mic now.
I could hear you fine either way. And I've got
I was
bad
gonna
hearing.
say I was gonna say I turned you up. Like at first you were really low, but then I went into the thing here on Discord and I raised your volume, and now you're like loud. So I don't know why they don't hear you. I don't get it. Maybe it's on their end.
Is Gene going to sing a song or something?
I hear him. It's just that he speaks very soft. Just speak a little more stronger. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Gene. Get that Texas big, big, big.
Come on, Gene.
Got the Yeti mic on.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, still can't hear you, mate.
Yeah, me too. It's just one of those. He's deliberately mumbling. I know he is.
I'm 16 inches away from my microphone.
Well, can you get 4 inches away?
Mic check.
It's building up to this poem or song. I can feel it.
I've turned up everyone in Discord, so I'm going to have to turn them all down individually. You're ruining my day, Gene. What you got to say for yourself? What is it you want to try and get through rather than the sound checking you indefinitely? We'll just have to deal with you quiet.
No, don't change your audio settings for me.
He had nothing to say.
Okay.
I know what he's got to say. He wants to know why the English say sat in my chair instead of sitting in my chair.
That is a big concern.
Well, one's a present tense and one's a past tense. Does that help?
Yeah, but we're always like, well, who sat you down? Did someone sit you down? You've been sat.
Look, it's our language. We can do what we like with it. I think.
I was going to say that.
Exactly.
One will do as one chooses with one's language.
And everyone stop bullying Gene. He's fine. You just need better speakers, Nathan.
You can't bully a Texan. Come on, man.
You guys sound all muffled now. You guys changed the audio somehow.
Good one, Gene.
Right, Paula, it was lovely having you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Let me know when you need help another time. Like I didn't really do anything, but
No, always appreciated.
Oh, thank you. Just in case we needed you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. See ya.
What happened that we had to call in the heavy hitters?
Hello.
Nothing, John. Nothing. Let's talk about
Hello,
presentations.
Is my sound good?
Yes.
Not too low?
Sound a little bit unhappy.
We could talk about how what is, or let's talk about why what is, that would be really great conversation.
Yeah, this is my point. I agree. No presentation necessary. Just freaking catch up.
I want to do TikTok videos.
What are you guys talking about?
We
When
don't actually
John,
know.
go ahead, John, you explain.
Asking the question how Earth is measured flat, how is in reference to a process. It's a malformed question. It should be, how do you utilize a sextant to measure Earth is flat? Or how do you utilize the theodolite to measure Earth is flat? It's, if someone's asking you how Earth is measured flat, I don't think they understand what how means. It's in reference to a process.
Question one
what's
is, what's the observation? What's the observation? John.
Observation, what?
Yeah.
We're
Step
talking about
one.
what is.
What's right, I know. I'm with you. But what's the observation as they bring it? What are they observing? Step one. What?
A flat plane.
Okay. Well, that's step one. What do we observe? How do we know we're measuring it flat? Right?
Are you
Are these
serious?
observances?
There's the malformed question.
Are you really serious?
Oh yeah. Observation, step one. Oh yeah. So we look at the horizon.
That has
What do we
nothing
observe?
to do with measurement. How does not work into measurement itself, because measurement is a conceptual unit applied to an aspect of reality. Now, I can tell you how you utilize a tool to measure Earth flat.
There you go. There you go. What are the tools? Are the tools reacting to the dynamics of the Earth?
A theodolite utilizes level as a plane of reference.
How do we know what level is?
As a plane of reference. Running parallel to surface level, so you can calculate rise over run.
How do we get the term level, though? What's the orienter for level? If something's at a level, how do we know?
It has no point higher or lower than the other.
Well, I mean, the behavior of water is what's known. That's we always get level because of the behavior of water. We mimic that with our tools, right? So we know water. The way we get a term self-leveling is because it all orients around the behavior of water. That's been known for so long that the Earth is in a way where water's behavior will lie flat when it rests.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Discord gang.
Good to have you all. Have a little bash at doing housekeeping. Quite a few people already in the audience. Wow, 45 people as soon as we hit the start button. That's pretty good going. Is it because I started late? I started a couple of minutes late. Maybe. Well, there's already a good audience. Please share the show if you haven't done so already. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
You're going to need a spherical Earth for that.
We don't even know when that crazy rumor started, nor who actually put it on the table in the first instance.
You all let me know in the live stream if the stream is okay, because it's fluctuating between no data and excellent connection on the YouTube studio, so God only knows what that means. Currently it says it's excellent. Hopefully it is.
YouTube looks good. Sounds good.
Seems good? Excellent. That's all I need to know. Thank you for letting me know. Don't need to let you know from the chat. Brilliant. Any evidence? What haven't we covered in a while? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Gravity bends light. Sorry.
Or is that scientific evidence?
Well, yeah, sort of. It depends on what you call science, right? In the astrophysics, they would call it science.
Is there any evidence that level is equidistant to the center of the sphere? So you're just talking about that
Well,
in
that
the
question,
pre-show.
yeah, that question's kind of redundant because within their own mathematical paradigm, they have level as level, surface level, eye level. They're all level. So to take the Merriam-Webster on its own definition of level, comporting to the center of a spherical sea level that's round, whatever it says in Merriam-Webster, it also, I've looked it up recently, it also defines what level is. So in the Merriam-Webster definition, it says having no part higher or lower than the other, and comporting to a spherical sea level or something like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those two things are a contradiction, aren't they? Even within that single definition that they go to.
Spherical sea level? Really?
I can't remember what it said. It doesn't say that. But what I'm saying is there's a contradiction in terms when they say level isn't level. It wraps around a ball, but it's also having no part higher or lower than the other. That comes first. The contradiction about being not level comes second. My point being that if you want to go to that as a baller and say, no, level isn't actually level, well, number one, it's level in your own maths. Here it is, eye level, and surface level. You'll need a flat earth for your globe maths. Here's Al-Biruni's level, when he derives R from a differential calculation between eye level and surface level. Now, the surface level isn't marked in this diagram because eye level is level, and he's trying to derive a non-physical, only in existence in the maths, derived from the differential from surface level that he ascertained when he got the height. But level is still level, eye level. Here it is with surface level above eye level in the second diagram where he invents a geometric position that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, he's got the height off a flat plane that is level, having no part higher or the other, because it needs to acquire him an angle. Oh, what do you know? Here's lots of examples whizzing on by of angles being needed. They all need a flat plane. What's that quote that I like from you, John, so much? You guys need a flat plane more than we do. Here's a well in cyan that needs a flat plane. The angle measurement requires the surface plane to be a plane. It requires it to be level, having no part higher or lower than the other, to give you an angle. All of your globe claim to be proofs need a flat earth. It's pathetic. But level won't change that, because they need it too. So they can't just redefine it as an anti-flat earther because of a Merriam-Webster definition that contradicts himself. Hopefully I've made that clear. Was that Eli?
Also, they do the same thing with down. Down requires a horizontal plane of reference, not in and out deals with the sphere. Down deals with a horizontal plane of reference. So they need a flat plane for gravity.
Don't remind them they need to use that convoluted system every time they do something on a sphere. They just use a flat plane up and down, and then you later bend it into a sphere. Otherwise, it's just becomes so complicated every time you try to explain anything. Right? Even with the buoyancy, how is the buoyancy supposed to work on a sphere? How does it know to go into the right direction?
I like it. I'd normally be giving John props for that, but you'll need a flat earth for that, isn't it? With your buoyancy, deriving gravity, hijacking relative density, you're still going to need a flat plane for it, though, aren't you? That sounds like one of those things I'd have missed that John would have pointed out a couple of weeks ago. But kudos, yes, indeedy, Arwin. What do you mean buoyancy? What, with respect to a horizontal? You're going to need a flat earth for that.
Yeah, that's true. Think about that. Very good.
Yep.
Can't have it on a ball.
Notice I'm not favouritising John here, by the way, Neil. Arwin got the props. You notice that?
It's either Arwin or John.
Oh, here we
Brian.
go. Bloody hellfire. Can't win. Someone comes up with a rhetoric that's in line with the 2024 moving on the front foot of flat earth and how we will be measuring Earth flat, making that our first and foremost, our point of contention. It is not. It's a fact. And they need that fact to hold true to derive a sphere. Here's a sphere on screen now. Why is it in the center of an ecliptic plane? Well, because it's a flat plane. You know, you can put yourself in the middle of the ball if you want to make it work, but you're not in the middle of a ball, are you? So it's just needing a flat plane.
And there's also, Nathan, there's also like a very distinct like process that happens every time, right? Whenever the ballers try to put something together or demonstrate something with a visual or whatever, they always have to like first use the flat plane to put it all together. And then when they're completely done with all of that and it's all been assembled, complete, and then they try to bend it around a sphere. They don't start out with the sphere because then nothing works and they can't assemble anything. First they use the small version, and then after it's done assembled, then they can warp it into their supposed ball with cheap tricks and math.
Yeah, but in the first instance, when you break that down, again, to give props to John, because he was doing this a year ago, basically pointing out that what the argument actually breaks down to is a globe believer telling you that they're proving a globe and then going to a flat plane reference to get their globe proof and then stacking that up in false dichotomy with something that a flat earther maybe claims proves a flat plane but has a straw man attached, like height of stars, for instance, with elevation angles. So he's fighting for whether or not he can give you the height of the stars, the flat earther that is, and the globe earthers claiming that he's using a sextant on a curved surface when he's actually using an equatorial plane and a flat earth to claim that he's going to win with a globe. And when the flat earther can't show the height of the stars and the globe earther can show that he's got a reasonable understanding of how you'll use the angles that are measured off a flat plane, he says he wins because he's a glober and everything's globe-shaped. Jobs are good one. So it's a flat plane versus a flat plane. They needed a flat plane the whole time they were arguing. We just didn't know it. Now it's time to point it out to them if they proactively make their claim. If they don't, we should be moving forward on the front foot, telling people Earth's measured flat. Because it is. Earth is flat. That's how it's measured. That's why it's measured flat. Because it is flat. Maybe that's hard for people to understand. I've been told over the last couple of weeks that it's too much for people to take in, to just understand and appreciate that Earth's measured flat. They might not be able to wrap their paradigm cognition around that, says Adam. All right. Well, that's fascinating, Mr. Meakin. Meanwhile, that is just a fact. What am I going to do about the bloody complexities of psychology and human society? It's just measured flat. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Adam's not to moan at.
It's just so difficult.
No, Nathan. You need to put a presentation together. What's wrong with you?
To say it's measured flat when it's measured flat. John, I'm praising Adam, just so you know. I'm not opposing him for opposing me. Does that make sense, John? When I encourage him to say, no, I want this refined, I want it to better permeate through our community along with the normies that might just visit once, if we can expand out our waft out our stench and maybe make it smell a bit more like roses. But, you know, people are opposed to this, John, and you're on my side in this regard, I assume, which is to say, what's the issue? It's just measured flat. What's the problem? Why do we have to caveat this?
Well, the problem is that we've been all multi-generationally been indoctrinated to basically think of that flat plane as a sphere. How are you going to explain to people, no, that thing that we've all learned is a sphere, it's a flat plane? It's like, yeah, but we've been taught that that's a sphere.
Well, that's
but look at it. See, it's actually flat. It's like, no, it's a sphere.
I heard you the first 3 times. Let me answer you. No. Adam's joined. He's obviously been listening. So yeah, Adam's a complete prick, and that's all I have to say about them. Oh, hello, Adam.
That's a good one.
Can you hear us actually serious sound check stuff? If not,
I am here.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
No,
I got it. I was swearing back at you. I didn't realise I was muted.
I've got a point to make before we go into that. Arwin, how do you get around that? You don't highlight their stupidity. You don't highlight that they've been duped. You highlight something that they should appreciate anyway. Case in point, neurologist comes on the show. And when he starts telling us, yeah, of course we measure it flat, but that's just because it's so big. So he's starting with a understanding of the flat measurement that will be taken. I have a personal example with my brother-in-law who argued against celestial navigation, only for my sister, who's owned a couple of boats, to sit next to him and start nodding along with me, not him, when she appreciated that Earth is navigated flat. She had to learn how to do it so she could go out on her boats with a sextant. Now, in so doing, there's a level of appreciation in our opponents that they have to mitigate for. And we debate, or have debated in the past, with their mitigation. No. Let's start with their understanding so that they don't be made to feel stupid for being deceived. No, you appreciate, as I appreciate, that Earth is navigated, measured, built on flat. What's that you say? There's a mitigation that makes you believe it's a ball. Oh, that's very interesting. But you appreciate it's measured flat. At that point, you're not pointing out that they've been duped. You're not making them angry. Having not appreciated how flat it was when they thought it was measured spherical. No, they never thought that, if they have any appreciation of how the world works. You follow what I'm saying? Arwin. Then we'll get to Adam.
Well, yeah, you're saying you can basically bypass the entire issue and the trigger by just like letting them compartmentalize. Oh, look, this is what is real. What they tell you it is not relevant. Just look at what is real and then develop that separately.
Right? Exactly. Yes. I could say yes.
Agreement first with each other. You don't want to argue with the person. You want to agree on something. It's a lot easier if you and the baller can agree on something, isn't it? You can make that thing he didn't realize that you agree on first, the thing that's going to destroy his ball, all the better. But agreement is much better than confrontation.
Exactly. Chocolate went through this yesterday on yesterday's show. When he's talking to his mates, he starts from a position of agreement, gets a little agreement ladder going, gets them nodding along with all the things they appreciate. And then when something is in the conversation that they don't necessarily agree with, fake moon landing being something that might just get dropped in after an agreement ladder's been built, and suddenly they can't oppose their belief in a moon landing when they've already agreed that gas fills space and that's the law of entropy or whatever you've been using to stagger your way up that agreement ladder with them agreeing. So they're not being told, you just didn't understand. Aren't you stupid? Look how deceived you've been. You need a more open mind. No, you already know how this works, don't you? You're very smart.
They cemented the stairs into place and now they can't get it out.
Yeah, like Chocolate described yesterday.
Is there an agreement ladder on what is?
No, but there is when you're dealing with fundamentalist religious zealots, John. There's a distinction. When you're just dealing with what is, no, it just is what it is. That's how we should have our attitude positioned moving forward into 2024, because it is what it is. What's that? You can test that. Let's hear why. Then you're dealing with a religious zealot if they don't want to agree, and that's the position that many of the panel want to take. Obviously, we're on Flat Earth Debate as a show. I can understand their sentiment. It doesn't change how our attitude should be. Our attitude is very, very clear. There is no debate, to the point where some people are like, why have we still got the name debate in the show? Because the majority of the Western world think they're on a bloody sphere. So we'll keep that title till that's not the case. Let's just put it like that. What we appreciate is that there is no debate. It's measured and navigated and built on and obviously and observably flat. Now, we can state that on the front foot as a fact because it is. It's not contentious until a religious zealot steps into the forum. John.
All right, then. I'll accept that, just as long as it's understood that what dictates what is in the physical world is measurement, not agreement ladders.
Yeah, unless you're trying to convince somebody that's got a religious belief, then it's a different tale. Then you're dealing with psychology, where Adam would have a ground to stand on when it comes to my criticism that he was listening to the radio or YouTube. I mean, not on the radio, but metaphorically when he's doing his thing, listening to me saying, no, it's outrageous. We can just state measurements as fact without having to concern ourselves with the psychology of the opponent.
Isn't that why, John, I'm talking to you, Refracted, you relinquished your belief in a ball?
Yeah, after the Black Swan, there was no way to measure what I thought was a sphere. So therefore, it didn't exist in physical reality.
Thank you.
Got Paula leading by example in the chat. So bring it up, actually. Why not? So Paula says in the chat, the baseline used in navigation has to be on the surface being navigated. You cannot use a tangent or plane on a sphere in order to navigate its surface. Full stop. Couldn't be more straightforward. Couldn't be more concise.
We have one baseline, one surface, that we navigate on. It's the same thing. They have three. They have a surface, which has got nothing to do with the calculations and measurements they'll do. They have a tangent, which is what they presuppose from their measurements. And then they have an imaginary place to take it, to strap it to the surface, which is the equatorial plane at the center.
Hell. Dun, dun, dun.
We have one. It's the same thing.
Yeah, we measure the surface and use the surface. That's it. We're not transposing the measurement of the surface that we can use with respect to the surface when we reference the surface inside a ball that we're not standing on. Because that makes no sense. That's what they have to do with the plane of reference, a surface level in their maths that goes out into space, get my words correct, parallel with eye level, and a tangent point dipping below surface level to a geometric horizon that doesn't exist, and an equatorial plane in hell, where you will transpose the angles taken from the surface that could have been used on the surface to reference the surface without any further steps. But you can, if you choose to, transpose them into a ball-shaped hell, where you're not standing and isn't the surface, so that you can claim that you're on a ball, because you'll be using it in hell on a flat plane in hell. So you can put your flat plane in hell and claim that there's a ball wrapped around you when you navigate the surface and measure the surface. You can do that. It's absurd. That's what you will do if you're a ball Earth navigator and you want to take the precarious and not necessary steps of reifying your ball Earth imaginings from surface measurements that gave you the maps and models to transpose your measurements on the equatorial plane, which is the surface, inside a ball which isn't the surface. Hope that's clear.
Angles from hell.
Kudos, Adam. Yes, indeed you do. They don't have one horizon, they have 5. They don't have one surface level, they have 3. They don't have one point that you're measuring from, they have a point in hell and a point on a globe Earth you're not standing on and won't give you an angle. It's absurd. But that's what you've got to do the do-si-do and get yourself on a ball when you're measuring a flat plane. Any more on housekeeping? We've only done a couple because we've got a video to cover. Okay. Today we're going to be covering Planet Peterson, who we have covered before, because I believe it was Gene gave us a link to one of his TikTok videos where he's more or less or preferred platform, I don't know, whatever. Apparently he's deserted his YouTube channel. In any event, he's got one, and we're going to be covering him today. So, this is Planet Peterson doing a little interview with a flat earther and debunking him on a Skype call or whatever he's got going on. Now, he's already made a big goof because he said that the stars rotate in different directions. So we've covered the first 30 seconds in the pre-show just to do the sound check, but I couldn't help responding to it already. I'm not going to repeat it again. But all the stars rise in the east, set in the west, with the exception of Polaris, everywhere. Doesn't matter what position on Earth you take. But he thinks they work in an opposite direction. He's an idiot. He doesn't understand how the world works. Okay, we're going to get going. Oh, no, I need to do a call to action. This is a relatively small YouTube channel by the looks of things, 7K. So although he might be popular on TikTok, he's not so popular on YouTube. But you can help him along in the algorithm, as we would do with any size channel, in the vain hope that he would do a response video and put a link to my video. And say, this is the link to Nathan Oakley's video. He did a response to me, just like I'm doing for him. So if you are currently in the live stream chat, I'm putting a link so you can go and click on the link and go to his video and say, hello, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He responded to your video debunking a flat earther. Or better still, just at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. The simpler the better. I'll do this call to action for another couple of minutes, hopefully, so that a few people will actually click on his link and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Almost 80 people in the live stream chat currently on YouTube, so toddle your way along. Hopefully we'll get going once you all toddle your way back after leaving him a comment. But as I say, the main reason for doing that is so that he would do the same for us or any videographer that we respond to. We respond to many, so that we could receive some YouTube algorithmic love where currently we receive none. Not that this guy is by the judgment of his channel size. Anyway, I think we're done. We've had enough time. That normally generates a few people to interrupt. As soon as I press play, we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, I was about to.
Go ahead.
Only because I just wanted a bit of setting. I've just seen what you put on screen there. These statements. Are these statements he's made of fact before going on to discuss fire? So evolution is true. The Big Bang happened. These are things he's opened with, is it? His worldview.
He hasn't discussed them yet, but they're on screen in the first 30 seconds. He hasn't specifically gone through his list.
It's kind of sad, really, for him. If you actually read what's on that screen, I feel sorry for him already.
Go on, then. It's on screen. Knock yourself out.
Faith is useless. What a sad, wretched creature you must be if you hold a worldview like that.
Maybe pity is the way to move forward, Adam. Not argument, just pity them.
Yeah.
But am I not right in saying that, in the words of George Michael, you've got to have faith?
Well,
faith of faith. Baby!
I know that. Well, this seems to be somebody. Well, I mentioned Darwin yesterday. Somebody seems to have an argument with God, look.
Are you going to go through them or what? Do you want me to put them back on screen and read them out? So
I can do. I just evolution is true. The Big Bang happened. What's evolution? It's just a theory. Is a dumb argument. Well, I would agree. I just look at that and I think, like, okay, what have you got here? You've got a full ball-tard, haven't you, who denies the existence of a creator. And that's his beef, look, because the things that are true is evolution, which you probably won't be able to define, the Big Bang, which you won't be able to describe, that they're the things that mean there's not a God. There's no creator.
Perfect. Right, let's do this.
Depending on what hemisphere you're in, and it rotates around two different centers.
Hemisphere is a begging the question fallacy. So when you use the term hemisphere, it's a derivation of the celestial sphere by way of an angle measurement off a flat plane that gives you a perspective view described as a dome, and then an antipodal flat plane sandwiched underneath it, so you can describe the entire system as a spherical system for the stars. But to infer that Earth has an antipodal hemispherical positioning system on the surface is nothing more than a begging the question fallacy. Beyond your inference that Earth has antipodal positioning, there is no evidence of antipodal positioning. What you've used up until now is to suggest that the stars rotate in different directions. No, they don't.
Central points. That's physically impossible if Earth.
John? Or are you just agreeing?
If the surface was curving, if surface level was curving, you would have no plane of reference to describe that rotation from.
Right.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate, you got a bit of praise earlier for your agreement ladder with your mate when you got them to the point of moon landings and they've already agreed that gas filled space and so on and so forth. Very difficult to disagree once they've agreed with all the premises that you've put forward without them assuming that you are a numpty crayon muncher because you've told them you're a flat earther. Anyway, you got high praise for that.
When I reiterated that, I hadn't heard Chocolate, so that's a bit of praise to me as well. Now, it is the tact to take. You know, I mentioned it last night when I was in Market Square, and we had the I'm from university people, and we were trying to get to disprove space to them, and what he was mentioning the ISS, and they were happy with it in that place. And he's trying to smell where to take them and to get that agreement. And the first thing I did was go, I don't want to talk about flat Earth anymore. Let's just talk about phases of matter. And I got the agreement from what a solid does, how it behaves, what a liquid does, and how a gas behaves. As soon as I got that, I can then take them to the edge of their fantasy to point out that the statement of truth that they've made, using all their scientific knowledge, now contradicts their belief in a ball. That's where you've got them, because it's their statement that contradicts you, not you telling them.
Exactly. That's why asking them sometimes, can you have gas pressure without any form of a container? Sometimes that catches them off guard because they think, well, of course. Of course you can't have any gas pressure. Of course you need a container. Oh, okay. Thanks for debunking your entire heliocentric nonsense. that we live on a ball with no barrier between us and a ever expanding vacuum. Thanks.
Nah, my son says now the universe is the container. Yes, there's containment, but it's the universe, and we don't know how far it goes. But somewhere there's walls.
That's funny.
Sorry, how does
It used to be.
No.
Yeah.
How does that get around Earth in a heliocentric paradigm as a tiny dot? So if he wants to say the universe is the container, no worries. Okay, fine. Let's just see how that pads out. So in the realm of, let's just say, 1/100th of the visible universe, we look back at Earth. How big is Earth? Oh, it's infinitesimally small. It's tiny. It's a little tiny dot that you couldn't even really perceive unless you had the most pixelated, pixel-dense camera you can imagine. I mean, it'd be really difficult to even see. It's so tiny. I see. And that's not when we get to the container edge, we're just in space looking back at Earth as a dot in a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum. Yeah. And the container's way behind us, even further away from Earth. Yeah. Okay, so that tiny little dot is now going to fill the entirety of that volume of space with gas so that we can have pressure on that dot. No. It would still leave us all dead. There's no way that tiny infinitesimally small dot is going to produce enough gas to produce the 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum in violation of natural law next to the 14.7 psi vacuum gas pressure that we are all breathing.
No, Nathan, this has been going on for millions of years. Don't you know that?
So what, the whole universe is full of gas then? Then it stands in violation of the rhetoric that it's a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum, doesn't it?
Yes.
So hold on, John. So he's become an anti-flat earther, making up his own crap as he goes along then?
Correct. He doesn't adhere to anything Neil deGrasse Tyson says. He has his own set of beliefs, actually, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, anti-flat earther, defined by the fact that they will not and don't care if they are adhering to heliocentric rhetoric in the first instance. That doesn't matter. In this instance, yeah, the whole universe is a container. Therefore, gas is expanding out to the edges of the universe from this tiny dot in a massive area that's claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 Torr, but isn't because the gas pressure is pressing on the outside edge of the realm of the unknown universe, which is also the container for Earth, even though it's a dot in a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum, according to the rhetoric, in violation of natural law. He's just making it up as he goes along now because he's an anti-flat earther.
Right, it's still in violation of gas filling space to assert that the edge of the universe is the container. So gas is not filling space then.
Exactly. It's still a second law of thermodynamics violation, which is why I asked him how it would help him. You still have to have the gas that we are breathing at pressure with containment to press upon to form the pressure. Now, if the sky is a vacuum, as it is claimed to be, then the gas would fill the space. That's entropic law. Bye-bye sky vacuum, bye-bye outer space, bye-bye moon landings, bye-bye trips to Mars, bye-bye lights being rocks, bye-bye the soil that we can find being in the sky. Soil in the sky is so absurd when you think about it. 100 years from now, if we're all appreciative of the lies that we've befallen, or we don't care about the lies and just realise that Earth is flat and look back on how people used to think, like we look back on people in the 1600s or whatever we look back on, and go, wow, weren't they archaic? They used to think that the soil was in the sky. Wow, what a load of old nonsense.
No, but that's what it is. We're soil in the sky, and we're rotating, and everything's beautiful with the other planets. Don't you know that?
Yeah. If it wasn't for a bitter taste being left in my mouth from Dave Weiss making complete codswallop of the argument for new worlds, easily identifiable on older maps with the new worlds, and some of them you'll probably be living on listening to this right now. Shocking, isn't it? Well, those new worlds, as they were populated out from maps that didn't have them on, have shown the emergence of new worlds in outer space, formerly the area beyond the horizon that wasn't mapped yet. Well, that's easy to show. I'm not going to launch into a Sting song, but by my same token, the understanding of what were aliens and is still defined as aliens is appreciated by everyone. Again, if you're looking for an agreement ladder because you want to go out and be a flat earth evangelist and you're into the discussion with a normie or anti-flat earther or globe believer about this subject, and suddenly you're discussing exactly what I've just discussed, oh, well, we used to call them new worlds, didn't we? And people go, no, they're just continents. Well, all right, have you ever heard the term third world country? Oh, yeah. Isn't that a developing country? Yeah. They don't like that sort of language. So they've changed the vernacular from what they used to be and is easily referenced as being the case. New worlds in outer space beyond the horizon. That's what we had when we were negotiating and travelling the world flat, as we still do. Oh, but what? It's actually globe-shaped, in spite of the fact we still deal with it, negotiate it, build on it flat. Why is that? Well, because outer space is the sky now. And all the land that you will find is lied to you about by NASA on these TV feeds in a place you'll never visit that's violating natural law, where all the land is. All the land's upon that red dot. That red dot is a lot of soil. We've got a rover on it. And we've been to that grey dot we called a moon. We've put a rover on that too. So that's where all the land is. Don't worry your precious little head about finding land out in outer space, because it's not outer space anymore. You just come back on yourself. It's a ball now. All right, that's how the paradigms evolved. So if you're looking to get someone to agree with you, show them how it absolutely unequivocally is the case that we found new worlds, not in the sky, not in the sky vacuum, but out towards the horizon. That's how the world has expanded in our known history, and it's very well documented.
Could I give an example of that documentation?
Yeah, please do.
So the Pilgrim Fathers, after several years living in exile, they determined to establish a new settlement in the New World. That's what it was called back then. That lingers to this day, that phrase for America. But back then, it wasn't called America. It was just called the New World. It was unknown lands.
Exactly. That's what I reference when I say a lot of you watching it are going to be part of that idea and still have vernacular that we can get you on an agreement ladder with, because you appreciate, oh, well, we Americans are all aliens, aren't we? Oh, yeah, we are, aren't we, really, when you think about it? Yeah, you're agreeing with me because I'm about to shit all over your paradigm. Yeah, you can do that now because you can be smug in the understanding and knowledge that Earth's measured flat. We are on the front foot, and we don't need to be ashamed of that fact. It's just a fact. What's to be ashamed of? Oh, yeah, because as individuals, we're tarred with a brush of Robotham and con artistry and shillery and attempts to... No, we're just here telling you it's flat. Measured flat. So it's dealt with to this day.
Wait,
I thought it wasn't socialist idea.
Let me get this straight. So we can go to a whole new world, in quotes, without having to get on a rocket and go through a fake vacuum that doesn't exist. We could just go that way and get to a new world.
No, you've done that wrong. Sorry to be a stickler. We have done this and can be shown to have happened already, past tense. So rather than the speculative we could go forth to find new worlds, oh, could we? Let's talk about Antarctica. That's how the Feast of Nonsense has stacked up that particular little discovery routine, if you're going to engage in it. Correct? Anybody familiar with, oh, we've got new worlds. Oh, Antarctica! Look over here! Hello! Yeah? Sod that. Sure, it's a fact. Yeah, we found new worlds. Out in space. Outer space is what was the area we didn't discover. When we discovered new worlds, we discovered them that way. That's how the world expanded, until it was globe-shaped. 2, 3, whatever it is, 100 years ago, max. You know, that's when it's changing its shape so that we don't go out to find new worlds, and the new worlds become the soil in the sky. We don't want new worlds. We don't want developing countries. I think, if I was to speculate about why the deception, we always get asked, why would they lie? Because they don't want developing countries. Don't want any more third world countries. Yeah? Don't want any more discovered. Suddenly you've got to concern yourself with them. And what do? Well, they develop. And then suddenly they become a massive problem to you. If you're an already developed nation with rules and a society that you've got very much under control and regulated, your third world country comes up the ranks through usually and typically and historically textiles. And before you know it, they're a developed nation, doing whatever they like rather than whatever you like. Well, you can do a couple of things. If you keep discovering them, you can keep sending them crap to recycle on boats to keep them from developing their own textile industry and developing into a proper nation. Or you can just seal off the world and don't find any more and point everyone towards the sky if they want to discover anything. Yeah, go towards the sky. And if you do, we'll mock you like we mocked the guy who died in his flat Earth rocket. Because what are you doing trying to do this and failing? Why? Why is Mad Mike the only one trying to go up to the sky vacuum? Well, because it's utterly absurd, and you'd have to be insane to think that you can travel to rocks in the sky, because there aren't any. It's utterly absurd. But yet, they do it to mock you, because they know why they've done it. Back in the 1800s. They saw what was coming. They labelled them. Third world countries. Developing countries. You don't want any more of those. Far easier to just seal off the perimeter, tell you that you can't find any more. You're in the Truman Show. Pull down the map, it's already all been discovered. Why? We were only discovering them 100 years ago. Why did it stop? Well, because you just go back on yourself now. We found out it was a ball. Oh, really? Did we? What, while we were navigating and measuring it and building on it flat? That seems a bit absurd. Shh. Don't worry your little head about it.
Details.
You do a bit more Planet Peterson?
With the Rocket Mike guy, Nathan, I think he was trying to get a Guinness Book World Records for a steam-powered rocket. He wasn't trying to get into space or anything. He was specifically trying to do that test, a steam-powered rocket. And he just happened to get sponsorship from Flat Earthers. So, they spun a story about it.
Yeah, but in the same way Robotham gets spun into the positive spin that the negative aspect of the subject needs if you're an anti-Flat Earth spin doctor. That's what he was used for. Hence, I use him as the example. Go on, Adam. What were you going to say?
No, again, I draw that analogy. Somebody that was a little ridiculous in of himself and was doing those ridiculous things way before he announced he also thought the Earth was flat and then strapped it to a rocket. It was a good example of how the media picked up on the ridiculum and ran with that as our standpoint, because that's a lot easier to do. Just take the mick out of us by stereotyping us all as these crazy people that think you can have a water-powered rocket. As Paul said, that wasn't his purpose. His purpose was he was actually using air pressure to generate thrust and steam to do that. That's all. There was the fact that he thought the Earth was flat had nothing to do with what he was doing. Yet that wasn't how it was portrayed. It was portrayed as lunatic flat earthers using steam power to get to space. Remember? Contradiction in itself.
Yeah, which is silly. I mean, he was traveling up with respect to a plane of reference. Obviously, he's on a ball.
Absolutely correct. John, you're ace. How high did he get with respect to the horizontal plane of reference and sea level when corrected for his height above sea level, that horizontal plane of reference? I wonder.
But they point out that he didn't get to a place that couldn't exist. So they maintain their paradigm, taking the mick, saying, oh, look, he's not got anywhere near space. He won't. Doesn't exist, youth.
And qualifying how far or near space and the visit that he did or didn't get close to we'll need a flat Earth to qualify, won't it? Well done, John. He's just hearing the cues. He's heard height and gone, every single reference with respect to this description will need a horizontal plane. Right, John?
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's key words you look for. Height, angle. Now, not all angles.
No.
It'd have to be an elevation angle or an angle with respect to Earth. But, yeah, they all require it to be a flat plane.
Yesterday I was
testing,
testing Rumble streams, and while I was doing, I was going out live to members and occasionally live out to the public as well at unscheduled times. And Says Who, is he here today? No, he was on the panel, and he was saying, could John do a presentation to explain when he says you're going to need a flat Earth for that, what he means and how Earth is required to be flat for that particular example. Well, now we've just had one, right? We've just had an example of Mad Mike going up, and when he's described his height, the elevation that is described to have not entered space by spin doctoring of globe Earth believers is with respect to a horizontal plane of reference to describe that aspect of his journey, the height. So John's listening going, height, this will need a flat Earth. because he already knows that the description comes with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. But to put that into a presentation would be to say, okay, well, which bit of it? Should we take Mad Mike and say, Mad Mike actually proved Earth is flat? Why? Well, because if you're going to tell us how close or far or not enough to get to space he was, or wasn't, in height, the description itself requires a horizontal plane of reference. You're going to be proving a flat Earth by saying you only got to this height, therefore didn't get to my reified sky vacuum that violates natural law. You'll need a flat Earth to describe how close or far he got to your imaginations of space. Flat Earth proven. Kudos, Mad Mike. But as a presentation, suddenly you're talking about Mad Mike and rockets, and that's just going to be pulled apart. But hearing it in the discussion and hearing the cue, which is height, and going, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. Absolutely correct. I'm waiting for Adam to step in at some point and object. And
hold on, before Adam steps in, that's what I was saying yesterday. Every time John says it, that is a presentation.
No, it's not. It's an iteration.
It's just statement of fact.
You got to be able to see it in your mind.
I don't think I've ever just said you'll need a flat Earth for that, and that'd be the end of what I said.
That's my point.
The request was for just greater clarity, teaching. I don't see it as a challenge. It was a request. So you can ignore the request and deny that person's reason for making the request and say, well, you should know better. You should be able to figure it out, just like me. Yeah, Neil. Yeah, you should just be able to do it in your head.
That's not what we said.
It's not what would happen. Genuine
hold on,
people
Neil. Just let Adam get his... Just go on, Adam.
Genuine people were saying, really like the point. I can see it, but I'm not confident enough in my understanding of it for me to be able to use it. Could you strengthen my understanding, John, with a presentation? That was the request I heard. Reasonable.
But there is no presentation for it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
All I could do is educate people on the meaning of words.
I think a good example would be to exemplar dip to the horizon. That would be a good way of explaining what they're invoking and why.
You're talking about the point
why
where
we laugh
sea
at
level
that.
meets the Earth or sky?
Yeah, I think that's what people would like to be able to visualize, so they understand why we giggle.
101 people watching. Woo-hoo-hoo! Very warm welcome to all of you who've joined the show. Obviously, only over 100 people because the people who watch regularly share the show. So please share the show if you've just got here. As I say, a very warm welcome for joining. Any more on this discussion?
I'm just going to say the definition of horizon contradicts the concept of a sphere because you have sea level. Level is a horizontal plane. Like, it's just what is. I mean, I could go through all the words, I guess.
I don't think people's asking for the reiteration of the words. They're asking for diagrams to explain the words better so that they understand it. They're not saying you're wrong. They're saying we don't fully grasp it. Please explain to us better. Now, you may be, like Neil, lucky and you understand it first time. Well, we could respect that people have humility and they've asked for greater understanding, not to be told, well, I can just re-say the same thing. Somebody's taken the time to come to us and say, look, we like this. Can you explain to me better, please? I want to use it.
I'm not saying the same thing. I'm pointing out that the words that we use have meaning, and those meanings are tied to axioms, and those axioms require Earth to be a plane.
Yes. Right, let's do a bit more Planet Peterson, because otherwise I've put him in the title, and he'll be disappointed we've only covered 45 seconds of his video thus far.
This is flat. So there's that. The fact that the sun sets, the fact that you can see
These are just baseless assertions. Like the girl yesterday, you never been on a plane because the sun sets. What does that mean? Okay, let's just take that at face value. Sunsets. What about them? How do they prove Earth's a sphere? Now, if you're going to say that they're going beyond a geometric physical limitation at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as laid down in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, then we would point you in the direction of the black swan. We can debunk that physical hill that you think is Earth curve at the horizon, getting in the way of stuff. So if it's getting in the way of the sun, then it would be at a physically fixed location as laid down in your maths. We debunked it 4 years ago. So no. Even though you're not actually qualifying how horizons and sunsets would prove your sphere-Earth edge, I can do it for you. You just put it out as a baseless assertion.
Horizon dip angle.
What? Horizon dip
Sunset.
angle? Go on, John.
Right. Sunset is a rhetorical device to describe the elevation angle change to the horizon of the sun. And a dip angle requires eye level to be a horizontal plane running parallel with surface level.
Yeah, a dip correction requires surface level to be level, eye level to be level, and a differential between the two. It's also the derivation for an R value when taking said surface level and said eye level, both level, not comporting to the shape of a sphere, having no part higher or lower than the other in there, begging the question proof of perspective hijacking Earth curve maths. That differential is your dip correction. You absolutely unequivocally require, and it proves Earth is flat. Is he going to tell you how, like we just did? Or is it just going to be another baseless assertion that dip correction proves the sphere? No, it proves Earth's flat because it's a differential between eye level, having no part higher or lower than the other, and surface level, having no part higher or lower than the other. The differential between those geometric principles of level, both of them, will give you the dip correction. Correction to what, you may ask? Well, surface level. That's what you're correcting to. Am I going to get it in the ear because it's not correcting to it, it's correcting from it?
It's correcting to generate a parallel to it.
Well, that's far more specific than I was, but I'm glad you're here to correct me.
I mean, I don't want to just pile on one thing after the other, so.
Yeah, we call that scattergunning. You're not qualifying any of your claims. Just piling one after the other isn't making anything more than a string of baseless assertions.
What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I think the horizon.
I think you haven't made any positive claims or backed them with anything so far. You've just given me a list. Is this the start of your list? Is page 3 going to cover evolution in all the details of how it's proven? Is page 4 going to be the Big Bang? What is this?
And dip angle is just another word for, or another phrase for a vanishing point.
Why is he contesting this? The flat earther doesn't need to challenge anything. Nothing's been presented as evidence yet. I don't get it.
No, because
you just need to, as a flat earther, respond, what of them all? Go ahead, make your claims. Go on, make your claims. Evolution is true. That's a heading, not a proven claim. It's a heading, a baseless assertion at best.
Sorry, he's piling on with rhetoric. That's all he's doing.
Okay, a string of baseless assertions.
Having in the middle making the statement that faith is useless, he starts by making his statements of faith. None of these are substantial. None of them can he probably even define as to what, like I said, with regards to evolution, Big Bang. These are his statements of faith, and them to say faith is useless.
Yeah, especially with Big Bang. It comes directly from a priest, Lemaitre. That's purely faith-based, Big Bang. It was, faith? What? Faith is useless? Well, what have you got Big Bang up there for?
The vanishing point would be above... excuse me. If there was a... So, how do we do this?
It's trying to stumble around if there was a vanishing point. There is no vanishing point, and you're begging the question proof of nothing... perspective hijacking Earth curve maths. There is no vanishing point in those maths. You've already made an assertion that horizons and suns going over them are going to prove your rhetoric. How are you going to do that when you've got a perspective omitting mathematics to do it with? You can't. Why are you talking about vanishing points?
Vanishing point horizon. Vanishing point above horizon. So if the
vanishing point above horizon? Why is he doing this? Your claim is it's a physical hill getting in the way, mate.
Horizon actually was a vanishing point. Then the vanishing point would be the horizon, but none of these pictures are gonna give us.
They're gonna help you with it not being a vanishing point. No, they're not, because they're all describing vanishing points, which is what it is.
So is he now researching his objection on the fly?
Yes.
Just now.
That's what it sounds like.
Ouch. To the
But if you
point
actually,
They don't
he's got an objection to the term that the horizon is the vanishing point. That's now a revelation to him.
Yeah, and that's not a shock that it's a revelation to him, because in his mind, there is no perspective. He stumbled and fumbled his way around that, didn't he? The reason he stumbled and fumbled his way around it is because in his mind, the world of globe Earth has no perspective. It takes place in an orthographic view. Yeah? So what he's got on screen is a load of vanishing points. Now bring up Earth curve mathematics and look at what you get. You get the side of your own head and the side of the target at the same time. There's no perspective in that. So in their mind, they're like, perspective doesn't exist in our maths, therefore I can charge a flat earther with being able to see New York from Ireland. Why? Well, because there's no perspective in the world that I exist in. There's only Earth curve getting in the way to stop you seeing things. Not perspective. So this, what vanishing point? What a revelation. You can't believe the look at his face.
have it. It's all being shrouded. Anything that we want to search that's gonna validate either one side of the argument is not there anymore. Google's done away with that. They don't want anything to do with this conversation.
right.
So we don't have to exercise the SEO of Google anymore.
Might have been true pre-2024, mate. No, we're taking a very different tact. As much as this might be pretty good, I'm not going to criticise it too heavily, because you're right. But if you're looking for an agreement from your opponent, and there's various different aspects, well, all of them, that require a flat plane to claim, then I would be affirming that Google would agree with you. Well, just look up how Earth is measured flat on Google, and it will tell you how Earth is measured flat, because it is.
He can't do that right now. He can't do that right now because what he's trying to do is look or Google how the vanishing point he just said is a vanishing point is not a vanishing point. So
He searched
can't
for
do that.
vanishing point above the horizon, because he wants perspective and an Earth curve edge, and he wants to find that and won't. So now he's going, oh, I'm going to do this on the fly because the horizon's just Earth curve. Well, yeah, it is in your rhetoric. In reality, we have perspective, so when you search for perspective, it's going to show you perspective. It's never going to show you an orthographic Earth curve view.
It's a dead topic. Okay.
Great to have you with us today.
It is great to have you all. Thank you for joining us. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter.
Another reference, you said we wouldn't go to the space, but as far as perspective. So when it comes
I googled
to
Flat Earth Society, and
if I interrupt you before you get to the end of your question with what I'm searching on the fly, there's a good chance that you won't be hammering my ass to the ground.
Flat Earth Society is the first thing that popped up.
That's fascinating. Why would you interrupt him when you're having a discussion about perspective? Well, because you sense that the end is nigh. Therefore, best interrupt him before he gets through that sentence. Is this the echo chamber that we get accused of being? Is he muting him? You're in the middle of a discussion about perspective and you're telling him that the first search is Flat Earth Society. That's fascinating. Why are you doing searches on the fly? Why are you interrupting him? Do your search in your rude way where you're clearly not listening to him. And don't decide that whatever he's got to say is totally irrelevant because you're not listening, so you can talk at any point that you've done a Google search. How rude! These people are just pricks.
So the idea that Google is like censoring...
Yeah, I was in the middle of a conversation with you about perspective.
The Flat Earth Society is not empirically supported. Anyways, what about space?
What about I scattergun you off the subject of perspective and we ignore that because I just interrupted it because I wasn't listening to you? What about a completely one-sided conversation where you don't acknowledge a single thing the person's saying to you because you've interrupted them halfway through because you're in the middle of a Google search while you're having a conversation? You're just rude.
I didn't say it was empirically. I didn't say bias. I said...
My friend used to call it the sharp, shiny object. And if he was about to be caught in a lie, he would hold up something shiny or sharp and say, what is this? And then change the subject.
Hey,
so there's two subject changes happening and getting you off the topic you're about to lose.
Yeah. What about Flat Earth Society? Let's move on to space. So we're moving on to space from the Flat Earth Society, not moving on to space from perspective, though I just did a quick Google search and had a revelation that the vanishing point is the horizon. Shocking that it's not represented as an orthographic Muppet view.
Also,
we're not
a
going to
false
find it.
statement.
Go on.
When he says he's only clicked the link, as far as I can see, the Flat Earth Society contains no empiricism. Sorry? It's a completely false statement. That's about all it does contain is a bit of empiricism, a bit of observation from reality. But he's now trying to poison the well with a statement that he doesn't clearly understand. This is the height of Dunning-Kruger. Yeah.
All he said, I've done a Google search. It's Flat Earth Society, and they're wrong. That's the end of this discussion about perspective.
Why they're wrong? Because it's got no empiricism.
Yep.
Sorry.
Moving on. Yeah. Prick.
For the support of either side of this conversation. I'm very clear on what I say, and I know what I've said. So any attempt to twist it will just be your own delusion. But anyways, I know what I said. I said both sides of the argument won't be supported by Google. However, I will digress. When it comes to the observation of the rotation of stars from a different point of a hemisphere, you can still...
Will he get it wrong like Planet Peterson got it wrong? Place your bets now.
Have a semicircle, and even the flat Earth is a sphere. I mean, think about it.
Nope,
if you have a
half
flat
sphere.
He hasn't made his example yet, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, I'm sorry. You interrupted. I wasn't done. But anyways, it's a sphere because...
Nope, it's half of a sphere.
That's the second interruption, Mr. Peterson. Prick.
I'm sorry. It still did not make my point. I mean, you're very good at just jumping in there, so kudos to you.
Now Peterson will make it about the discussion and the interruptions themselves. Pound.
However, let's say we got a dinner plate, right? And that's the topographical part of the Earth with the continents and the mountains and everything. All right, it's very curvy, hills and valleys and mountainy. Then you got the waters, which are relatively flat, but they're deep, and that depth goes into like the bottom of a bowl. And then to cap that all off, around the supposed ice wall, which is Antarctica. Now,
What ice wall? What?
I'll tell you this: I'm speaking from an objective,
wasn't it? And then he ruined it.
Yeah. Beast of nonsense, regurgitation.
Standpoint of somebody who's curious, not somebody who's based in fact or solidity on any ideal.
Should they perhaps have an open mind? Earth's measured flat, by the way. I mean, this notion of having a plate with a conceptualization of an ice wall with the continents. Yeah, we've got flat maps. They're flat for a reason. They're flat so you can use them for navigation. And you're going to be acquiring elevation angle measurements off a flat baseline. That's Earth being navigated flat. You don't need any of this conceptualization if you just tell the guy it's measured flat. That's how it's dealt with. Let's cut to the chase here.
I just research them all because I think it's more beneficial for my psyche to entertain all ideas until one is proven.
Gotta have an open mind. No, you just need to tell him it's measured flat. I don't need an open mind for that. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, the new guard's ushering its way in and sort of cutting a few heads off as we go. And now it's unfortunate because this might have flied in other arenas that were called Flat Earth up until 2024. Now it won't fly. You need to open up with your starting phrase being Earth is measured flat. Not because you believe it's the case, because you know that's the case.
Proven absolute. So I'm not. Anyways, I just said what I'm not. So then, if you've got depth where the water sits in some sort of like a bowl shape, and that would be a curved underneath underbelly surface, and then
This
you
has
have
nothing
a cap.
to do. This has
Then you have
nothing
a
to
cap.
do with the rotation of stars in the night sky.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you brought us back onto that, Peterson, because you think they go in opposite directions, you complete idiot. I mean, you are so fundamentally stupid when it comes to this subject that you're being berated by me, a flat earther, for it. Because you said that you think they go in opposite directions. Someone make a note, 415.
But that's what I was talking about with the last guy. If you reject that, then that's fine because we don't need that. The fact that the night sky rotates in two completely different directions, depending.
Does it? I'm thinking no, you complete spaz. I think you're in no position to be criticising anybody because you've got a really stupid idea about how the stars work. I suspect you've never even looked at them, let alone been south of the equator to observe them with your own eyes. You're a complete numpty. You think they move in opposite directions, do you, clown shoes? You think you need to interrupt him to highlight your own ignorance, do you, clown shoes? No! I will point out just how stupid you are for my audience. Please let Planet Peterson know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And please inform him the stars do not go in opposite directions. They all go in the same direction for everybody everywhere with the exception of Polaris. You are stupid and have absolutely no right whatsoever to be interrupting this flat earther to highlight just how ignorant you are about the stars when you bring it back to that subject, having non sequitured away your way from perspective. This is a embarrassment, my friend. Please let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link to his channel whizzing its way by in the live stream chat right now. There's over 100 people watching. So yeah, let him know. Help him along in the algorithmic love that we do not receive as flat earthers. And hopefully he'd do the same for us. Maybe put a link out on his TikTok channel, which has got a lot more viewers. We will see.
Of stars in the night sky. Nothing
Well,
at
we
all to
could
do
talk
with it.
about that. Yeah, I just got off.
That's what I said, and then you started talking about something else.
Okay, so since I was interrupted,
So
yeah.
if there's a dome here, then the stars are rotating in this direction, and
inside the dome,
nobody in
right.
the southern hemisphere could possibly look at the stars and see them rotating in the opposite direction.
Dumbo. They all rise in the east and set in the west, with the exception of Polaris. They do that everywhere. Nobody's seen them go in opposite directions. You are stupid. Can we all say it together? Planet Peterson, they don't go in opposite directions. You're just wrong and ignorant of the stars. So why are you having arguments about the nature of Earth when you don't even know what the stars do? I have no idea what you're doing here, Planet Peterson. You're thick. Very, very stupid.
Not all the stars up here are, and around a central point. That's physically impossible.
It's not, however. So
No,
if you were to take a dinner plate, you place a Lego guy facing the middle on one side of the dinner plate, you place another Lego guy on the other side of the dinner plate facing the middle of the circle, so they're opposite each other across a 180-degree meridian. Now, if they were to both look up, they're not going to see the same rotation. It would actually work on a flat plane.
What's he talking about? Does this flat earther understand how the stars work
Tell
either?
him the secret.
Go on, whoever that was.
So don't tell him the secret that he could replicate this nonsensical story he's talking about going to the antipolar side of a theoretical ball. All you have to do is, wherever you are, turn around. That's the secret.
So what you're suggesting is, by turning around, your perception of... Hold on. Let me just wrap my head around what you've just said. I'm standing looking at cars, and I'm on a roundabout, middle of a roundabout. Do you have those, like a four-way junction that's got a circle in the middle and you drive around the circle? Okay. So there's cars going around this roundabout, and I'm standing on the roundabout looking out at the cars, and the cars are coming from my left and going to my right because I'm looking at them from the roundabout. Now, as they're doing it, I cross over the road and then turn around, and now they're coming from my right and going to my left. So what you're suggesting is that we should tell Planet Peterson that stuff changes as you move relative to you. It's amazing. No, he said that they went in opposite directions. The relative aspect of you turning around is beyond this numpty's comprehension. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said they go in opposite directions, would he? They don't.
Yeah, exactly.
They all go in the same direction. Like cars round a roundabout. They all go round the roundabout in the same direction always without exception. Oh, what's that? If I cross over the road, they go the other way. He didn't say that, though. He's just an idiot. He thinks they go in opposite directions because that's exactly what he said. That's why I went back and played it.
Which is why they would call it a plane T, a planet, a plane T.
That's not what planet
That's why
means.
it's an aeroplane.
So
It's a plane. It's an aeroplane. It's a vehicle that flies in the air over top.
So, anyways, this is the dome, and the stars.
Did he just mute that guy in the middle of his sentence?
I was just going to ask that. He sounded like he got muted.
It would actually work on a flat plane, which is why they would call it a plane T, a planet, a plane T.
That's not what planet
That's why
means.
it's an aeroplane.
So
It's a plane. It's an aeroplane. It's a vehicle that flies in the air over top.
Yes, he absolutely did. Oh, so it's Planet Peterson's mute button when he's found what he needs on Google and the guy's in the middle of a sentence. Here, I go out of my way to get my opponent to clarify their point. I then reiterate their point to them. Normally, I get interrupted while I'm reiterating back to them their point that they have had open air to give me. And once it's clarified that their point has been made, I then set about taking it apart when everybody's clear that the point has been made. Now, while I'm doing that, there's a good chance there'll be interruption and I'll be accused of interrupting them while I'm taking apart their garbage. But in this instance, the guy's halfway through making his claim. Peterson's finished his Google search, so he just mutes him. So it's Planet Peterson's mute button. This is the kind of guy that claims they won't come in here because I will mute them. And I should go to them. Why? So they can mute me. Pure projection.
Preemptive projection, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm not coming on your show. You'll mute me. You need to come to this neutral platform where you'll be muted if I'm in the middle of a Google search and I found what I need and you're in the middle of talking, then you'll be shut down by the neutral platform so I can talk. How dare you invite me to a, non-neutral platform where you'll get the opportunity to make your claim, but it'll be torn to shreds. And if you try and interrupt me while I'm doing it, you will be closed down because I'm in the middle of a sentence. Yeah, only seems reasonable, but that's obviously my mute button standard. I'm in the middle of taking apart your garbage and you've just started talking through me because it's very painful. I'll close that line. That's my standard. His standard. What's that? You're in the middle of making a claim. I'm in the middle of a thought and a Google search. Mute. Should we all hear that again so we all know exactly what the mute button looks like when it's being used?
A planet, a plane T.
That's not what planet
That's why
means.
it's an aeroplane.
So
It's a plane. It's an aeroplane. It's a vehicle that flies in the air over top.
So, anyways, this is the dome.
So anyways, you won't be talking anymore, making claims that I'm going to have to challenge. I've finished my Google search. Now I'll be talking. It's my show. Right? Peterson, you coward. I tell you what, Peterson, you're invited onto Flat Earth Debate. This is an official invite. No excuses about mute buttons because that's your standard, isn't it? So if you're going to throw it back that I can produce my show and shut down irritating guests when they're talking through me, it won't be a standard that you can object to, will it? You are invited to come here. I'll give you all the time you need to make your garbage claims, and then I'll take you to the woodshed with them. I'd like to and expect to see you in the panel on Discord so you and I, can take your garbage to task without the mute button that you need on your neutral platform here. Right, Peterson?
And the stars are what the flat earthers tell us is the stars are affixed to the dome, right? And so
it's stereotyping fallacy. So when did I say I'm a flat earther? I didn't say stars are affixed to a dome. I object when other flat earthers use the word dome. So you're going to stereotype fallacy everybody who's a flat earther while your guest is on mute, and you've got an individual there that could defend your stereotype. One arsehole. Seems like you need the cards and the deck stacked in your favour to do this, don't you, Peterson? Even on your own channel. You need to stereotype the whole community with a guest on mute. Wow. This is your standard, Globers. Right? Like when John went on McToon's show, gets 5 seconds out after a 20-minute presentation and immediately shut down. That's the neutral platform standard. Here, I will give you open opportunity to make your garbage globe claim, unimpeded, uninterrupted, definitely not muted in the middle of your sentence when you're making your claim. Now, you might be muted if you decide that you're going to get triggered and talk through the rebuttal, as you all do. Yeah, but that's a very reasonable standard that nobody would argue with.
So the North Star is right there in the middle of the dome, and the stars rotate around that North Star.
You're making this claim now, Peterson, because I don't, and you've stereotyped us, and I've corrected that stereotype. Therefore, this is now your claim. So you claim this because you are claiming it. I don't, as you stereotype me with. This is now yours. No. That's an absolute absurdity that you can't prove. What dome? Have you been and seen a dome? What's this dome you claim is made of, Peterson? You're going to prove your dome and tell us what it's made of? Now you are claiming it.
Now, if those stars are rotating, the entire dome is rotating.
All right, is it? So you think we've got a dome and it's rotating? What kind of clown shoes are you?
Okay, which means the entire thing is doing this. You can unmute yourself whenever you want. So,
what, after you muted him? You mean he can't join in with the conversation unless he removes the mute that you placed on him? I see. You just take yourself off mute there, son. I muted you a moment ago when you were in the middle of your sentence. You probably didn't realise.
So if I'm standing somewhere down here, that's the equivalent of standing, I don't know, in Ushuaia in South America. And if I look...
Is he only allowed to respond to your straw man position that you put to him on mute when he was in the middle of making a claim? So you won't be having to respond to anything he said that stopped.
I will say this. The God and the Bible and the scriptures are 100% a belief, and I do have faith. I wasn't there. I don't know. But that is my stronghold. I do believe that God made the earth the way He accounted, the way it was written. He didn't make the sun. Yeah, He did. He said that He made. First of all, He says that He stretched.
What?
I don't know. He's put himself on mute in the middle of his own sentence. Apocryphon, we were all listening to you. All righty, he's obviously finished. He was in the middle of talking. He popped himself on mute.
Oh, let's move on then.
Apocryphon, did you want to add something else? You've accidentally muted yourself in the middle of a sentence. Clearly not. Okay, well, if you come back in at any point, you can carry on that sentiment about stretching stuff over whatever you interrupted yourself with your own mute button.
Okay. South, which is going to be towards here, where this is all spinning, no, I will not see the stars rotating around a fixed point. It's a physical impossibility.
What are you talking about? The basis of navigation and the almanac is derived from that exact principle. You're denying the existence of the almanac? What are you talking about? This guy is so stupid. That's exactly what they do.
So if me and you were facing each other and I raised my right hand, what would that appear to you as?
So that has nothing to do with
it's the exact observational standpoint I'm speaking of. It's exactly true.
Because
this guy's now attempting to explain to him what relative direction is, and you're wasting your time, mate. It's too stupid. He's already arguing with you. You're trying to give him an example, and he's arguing with the example. That's how stupid he is. He's not listening to the example. He's arguing with it. Oh my God. He's a fairly standard globe believer, isn't he, basically, Peterson? Just your average numpty idiot.
You cannot have you cannot have a dome rotating and have two.
I'm going to interrupt you and make sure you address my straw man. That's what he's doing. You can't have a dome rotating as I've strawmanned you with. I've described your dome that's rotating. No, it's your claim, Peterson. That's why I pointed out as your claim. He didn't make it. But you're insisting that he responds to your straw man, you bloody coward. Yeah, see how you get on when you come here? Yeah, Peterson? We'll let you waffle your way through your garbage proof. We'll probably laugh at the end after you've had free air to do it. But this is an open invitation to Planet Peterson to come here and prove a globe. And everything you use to prove it, I will suggest in advance that every single claim you use will require a flat plane. Go ahead, John.
Yes, and the celestial dome that he's talking about right now, and the star movement is part of the celestial sphere, and that is what he bases his belief that he has a model in. So what is he doing? Debunking himself?
Yes, he is.
Gonna
But
need
if that was
a
addressed
flat
to
earth,
him,
that's left
that,
up there.
one second, Adam. If that was addressed to him, that's so far over his head that it's untrue. Hopefully that permeated with the audience, John. Absolutely correct. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, he's going to need a flat plane, isn't he, to formulate that celestial sphere to then presuppose that it's actually the ground that's bending as opposed to the elevation angles that he's measured.
Perfect. Now you've had it. If you were watching Says Who, John gave the explanation, then you had Adam tell you we need a flat earth for it after the explanation. We're getting places, boys. We're getting places.
Okay. Does
2
this
points
gear...
of observation underneath it?
No.
You can have 2 points of observation underneath the dome.
Does this gear rotate around 2 central points?
A singular central point, but based on your perspective. Like if I said I saw a 6 and you were standing on the other side of it, you say it was a 9. That's what I'm telling you. It's a flip
that has absolutely nothing to do with what I said.
Everything to do with it.
Does
You're
this
looking at a
gear,
6 and a 9 in this?
Does this gear
mutes guest second time? Yeah, you're going to be coming on here, Peterson. You've got no excuse. None.
Gear rotate around 2 fixed points? And you can unmute yourself whenever you want.
I'm not the one muting myself. I've already answered you once. I said yes, it's rotating around a fixed point.
We know you're not muting yourself. We were well aware of that when you were cut off mid-sentence by Peterson muting you because he's a complete coward. Let's see how you get on without your mute button, Peterson. Let's see how you get on. Yeah?
However, I said that fixed point was a 6.
Stop. It's because
so why do you get to interrupt me?
Stop making claims that I might have to respond to. I'm not going to listen. La, la, la. Stop talking. Only respond to my straw man claims. If you don't, you'll be muted. This is the standard.
And get to mute me. I'm speaking and you interrupt me. But it's like a one-way street here. It's almost like you have a
coward zealot belief that you need to defend. Yeah, it is just like that, isn't it? Yeah, we know. We're on your side in this regard. He's a coward. A complete coward. Someone want to add something?
It's just becoming really messy at this point. I'm getting kind of tired of trying to sift all the nonsense apart, finding some kind of point here at this point in this discussion between these guys.
It's straw man, straw man, straw man, straw man. Response to straw man with new claim. No, don't say anything. Muted. Straw man, straw man, straw man. That's what I'm getting.
Bias that you want to perform on.
That's what you have. Yeah, I'm interested in the truth.
So I didn't hear what he had. You interrupted before I could get a general idea of what he was claiming. So far, not so good. As a host, I want to hear what the opponent has to say so I can reiterate back to them what they've said and make sure I understood what they are claiming. You don't even want to hear it, do you coward? This is a great example of the projection that I have to deal with when people claim I'm muting them. Yeah, go back and listen to the shows where I have to shut down my own panel and stop them interrupting the guest who's making his claims.
In the Northern Hemisphere.
Go on. Chocolate, was it? Oh, it's his guest that's talking through him or trying to get a word through.
In the Northern Hemisphere, the stars rotate in one direction. In the Southern Hemisphere, they rotate in the opposite direction.
No, they don't. All of the stars rise in the east and set in the west. Say it with me, you complete bonehead. No, they don't. You are so stupid.
He doesn't seem to be using the word they appear to do so. He seems to sound like to me that he thinks they're actually doing that.
The guy, his guest, tried to educate him and say, look, if I lift up my hand and I'm facing one direction and you're looking at... He then interrupted him and told him he was wrong. That's the problem with Dunning-Kruger, right? Isn't it? This is pure Dunning-Kruger. He thinks he knows better.
Yep. But this is what I called at the beginning. He's already making his opinion because he knows he's right. whilst he's researching to find out he's actually wrong, like he did with the vanishing point. Same thing here, but he's researching live as he's telling this other guy who's trying to tell him not to be a spastic, yeah, and say such stupid things that are clearly incorrect to reality. But because he believes in a ball and he's seen his pictures, look, he's just now trying to seek affirmation of his already held unsubstantiated opinion, or faith, you might say.
Yeah, it's the confidence in the consensus. Peterson is so confident in his globe faith because of the consensus. He expects the standard to be there for him at his fingertips when he Google searches it on the fly. When he doesn't find it, he can just shut down his opponent with a mute button. This is what I'm portrayed as, by the way. This behaviour is what I'm portrayed as by our opponents.
Just out of curiosity,
Go ahead.
When we're talking about stars rising in the east and setting in the west, if you don't hold a compass level, does it work?
Oh, sorry. So you're saying to describe the orientation of rotation in regards to east to west for all the stars, for everybody, save for Polaris, you're going to need a flat plane to reference. Correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got to level a compass or it doesn't work.
Okay, now we've summarized it and you detailed it before saying you'll need a flat earth for that. Do you want to just go through it again because it's new?
Well, the compasses that I've had, you have to level them because it's a piece of metal on a plane of water, right? And that plane of water must be level to point north. So, yeah, you're going to need a plane of reference for the compass to work.
The plane of reference that the compass creates, as you can see, is absolutely commensurate with the map and the flat earth we stand on. Once again, if you live on a ball, then the plane of reference that the compass creates is not commensurate again with the surface.
So in order to perform navigation when referencing directional movement of stars in this instance, from east to west in all instances, you will need a horizontal plane of reference. And as Adam's just succinctly tied it all together with maps and navigation, because Earth is flat. That's how it's measured. In this instance, we're describing a movement from east to west of all the stars, unlike this bonehead, globe-believing, Google search on the fly idiot called Planet Peterson. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Tell him all the stars move in the same direction. Say Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me to say all the stars move in the same direction. Just so you know. Oh my God, they get dumber by the day, don't they, these globe believers?
We have two fixed points of rotation. A flat Earth, on a flat Earth, that is a physical impossibility. The flat Earth dome would be doing this. As you admitted, there is only one point of rotation, which means that this observation, or both these observations, physically cannot happen on a flat Earth. It doesn't matter if one person's over here and then the other person's over here and they look at a central point in two perspectives. No, perspective cannot make this have two central points of rotation.
Have you heard of the double slit experiment?
That has.
Whoa, why aren't you addressing what he's just said? Oh, disappointing from the flat earther. He's claiming and affirming the consequent phonological fallacy. Identify the fallacy and then take it apart. Let's see if my panel do better than you. Can anybody else do a better job of taking apart what he just claimed?
If we have 2 points of rotation in the sky, the Earth must be a ball. We do have 2 points of rotation in the sky, therefore the Earth is a ball.
Perfect. So it's an affirming the consequent phonological fallacy based on an antipodal presupposition. The antipodal presupposition is if I am standing on a ball with antipodal positioning, that would be to say somebody dangling off the bottom of the ball with their feet pointing towards mine. If I assume Earth is in that way, antipodal positioning, then I will see stars moving in opposite directions, even though they don't, and he's wrong and stupid and is affirming the consequent with a stupid idiot idea that he can't affirm the consequent with. He can't even produce a proper fallacy. He's that dumb. Anyway, if P, Earth ball, antipodal presupposition, then Q, star rotation, antipodal positioning observed. Antipodal star rotation, opposite direction observed. Wrong. Therefore, Earth has antipodal positioning. That's his garbage affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy based on a presupposition of a antipodal positioning system that he has decided to assume. I thank you. Thank you, Adam. Absolutely perfect.
And further,
he wants to jump to the double slit.
He didn't recognize the fallacy. That's yeah, he doesn't know the fallacy. If you don't know, you don't know.
before we move to the double slit, though, where is his plane of reference for describing rotation on a ball?
Okay, so what John's saying, just so it's fully understood by everybody, if you're going to describe... Where's my mouse gone? If you're going to describe antipodal positioning in the first instance as the begging the question if P statement in the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that Planet Peterson just used, then you're going to need a plane of reference to describe the axis in the first instance. So not going to get an objection from Adam or QE in this instance because the opponent has actually done that. It's not us inferring that he is going to use an axial description. He did. Therefore, you're going to need a flat earth for that. Can you summarize it again for the benefit of says who? Yeah, John.
Well, to describe the rotation of the stars with respect to rotation, you need a plane of reference 90 degrees to that axis. He doesn't have that on a sphere.
So to describe the axis in the first instance, he needs a horizontal plane of reference to give him 90 degrees too. He's going to need a flat earth for this. Begging the question, incorrect Q statement with opposite directions of rotation. I mean, it's a cluster, you know what, isn't it? From Peterson. This is a disgrace. From a globe standard. If I was a glober, I'd be mocking you also. You don't understand your own rhetoric. It's pathetic.
It's nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
It has everything to do with perspective, sir. My point of view and what I'm trying to...
You got muted last time and now he's going to rumpus you.
It has nothing to do with perspective.
You want to rinse and repeat what you've already said and he's starting to challenge? You're going to repeat it through him. Very reasonable. For a prick, globe believer coward.
Quantum entanglement.
It certainly has nothing to do with...
Is that you or his guest? Is someone trying to interrupt him? Go ahead. Someone from Discord.
The shape of the Earth.
You just want to keep cutting me off. Everything has to do with perspective.
I've only done that when you've said something incorrect.
Fine, whatever. So let me...
Oh, is that a reasonable standard, is it, Mr. Peterson? You only stop people with a mute button when they say something incorrect. I see. That seems reasonable to you, does it? So as someone's making a claim here on Flat Earth Debate and every word that they say is wrong, we shouldn't let them make their claim. They should never get to the end of their claim, the very thing I'm criticised for doing even though I don't do it. No. Besides the fact that that does not happen here, it's only reasonable to at least hear what your opponent has to challenge you with as a claim in the first instance before cutting them off and saying they're wrong. What, wrong about if you turn around, things seem to go the other way? No, he's not wrong. You're so Dunning-Kruger that you assume the flat earth is wrong as you Google that which you do not know. Oh my God.
I'll ask you this. If I were to take a flashlight and I hold it directly against the wall or a countertop, and then I raise it up just a little bit, the surface area that light covers is going to be relative to the size of the flashlight itself. Is that correct or false?
Relative to the size of the flashlight? Kind of.
The lens of the flashlight.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. The shape of the lens of the flashlight.
Okay, so it's yes or no. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Okay, good. So we got something going. So now if you pull the flashlight further away, does it cover a wider range of that surface of the countertop or not?
Yeah.
Why is he getting an agreement ladder on this? I don't understand. I'll have to see where this goes.
It does, right? Okay, awesome. We're on
Is
the
the
same
sun a
page now. We have
flashlight?
common ground. Of course it is. It's something that emits light. Right
Is it
or
a
wrong? Does it
flash?
emit light?
Is it a flashlight?
Does it emit light?
The question is, does it emit light in all directions? And it does.
Right. It emits light, period.
It emits light in all directions.
So is this a red herring to take him away from the example that hasn't come yet? I don't really follow. This is a bit broken because I didn't fully get the flat earthers claim yet. Did anybody else? Am I just missing it?
Because the flat earther does not know what the hell he's doing.
Well, what direction is the Earth from the sun?
What direction is the Earth? There's no such thing as what direction is the Earth from the sun.
Well, I mean, in a heliocentric model, you've got an axial tilt that points towards it. You're like bowing to the sun. So, again, this seems like you don't know your own rhetoric. I mean, I wouldn't comport with the idea of a heliocentric motion without completely qualifying my question in regards to how I'm asking you about the direction of the tilt of the axis that will need a flat plane to acquire in your heliocentric model. That flat earther hasn't done that. But there we go.
You could say it's horizontal from it, but there's no direction. So
what? Okay, how are you going to get that from a sphere?
The sun emits light in all directions, which means if the sun is above us and emitting light in all directions, its light goes absolutely everywhere, including up and down and left, right, which means the light from that sun is going to hit every part of the Earth, which means nighttime is physically impossible on a flat Earth.
Affirming the consequent number 2. Anybody want to break this one down?
If we have night and day, it must be caused by obstruction of because the surface is spherical. You do have night and day, and therefore the Earth is a sphere, because on a flat Earth, the light would fill everywhere. That's kind of, it's 2 in 1. He's trying to build both his own assumption and in the same logic, give a disproof with a straw man against flat Earth.
Spot on. Spot on. So he's taking, if Earth's a sphere, then we'll have a blockage to the sun. He's already claimed it with sunsets, even though he didn't qualify it. Baseless assertion. He's now working on the premise that everyone accepts his baseless assertion that the sun's being blocked by the horizon when he described sunsets about 3 minutes earlier. With that in tow, that affirming the consequent, if sunsets, then Earth, sphere, sphere, Earth, because sunsets. He then takes the negative and says, if Earth flat, no sunsets. Light everywhere. Well, we do have. He's trying to turn it into a modus tollens based on a straw man of how the sun would behave on a flat Earth that he's got up on screen. Because obviously what his Google search represents his opponent's view about what the sun does. And when the opponent says, well, what about a flashlight? No, the sun's going to light up everywhere. And because the sun will light everywhere, won't work on a flat Earth.
What does this have to do with star rotation?
Nothing.
Yeah. Okay, so
what do you mean? Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to maintain my composure here, my calmness and my emotional resolve. I'm trying not to be as offended as it seems that others might be. My tensions are not.
Yeah, what you're trying to do, because you're trying to be reasonable in the face of a complete dick for an opponent. Yeah, you're trying to remain composed. Yeah, as an outsider, I can say, yeah, the guy's just a dick. Dunning-Kruger, clown shoes idiot. Doesn't know his own rhetoric and he's Google searching it to make damn sure the audience knows he doesn't know it as he Googles it on the fly. He likes to use a lot of straw men. He likes to use a lot of fallacies. He's Dunning-Kruger personified.
And the flat earther is incompetent.
Yeah, his opponent's incompetent also.
Not as high. However, when I said, yeah, that's great that we understand this principle, because if the Earth is so many millions of miles away, that means the light coming from it is covering a vast distance. And by the time it would get to the surface of the Earth...
I mean, I'm not going to go along with his own straw man here, right? But even on the diagram he's just shown on screen, it debunks his own failed fallacy of a claim that it wouldn't work on a flat Earth. So he's now showing a diagram that shows how it would work.
This is painful.
It is painful. I mean, I'm not going to buy into this argument. I wouldn't adhere to this depiction. I have no idea what the sun is. I'm not going to depict it as a physical object moving over a azimuthal equidistant polar North Pole centric projection. I'm not going to do that. Now, he's brought it up on Google, therefore what, flat earthers see it as this way because it's on Google? Okay, well, that undoes your argument in this context with this opponent, incompetent though he may be. Because here it is on screen, not filling the whole surface, overcoming it. Well, it's not day everywhere. Well, it isn't in this diagram. So, not that I'd, like I say, want to be arguing this position and wouldn't be if it was me opposite him, but there we go. That's where we find ourselves.
This is the reason why this show is so important. Share, share, share.
What?
I was about to ask the same.
Hello?
What the hell happened?
Nothing, I'm just pressing buttons because I'm about to round out and ask people to stay tuned.
On his show.
Yeah, I was pressing a load of buttons when you're like, what's going on? What's happening? It's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to round out the show. So I'm queuing up lights, I'm turning on cameras, I'm getting various different recordings ready to be paused. That's what I was doing, Neil.
As long as you got my share, share, share.
We did. It was a good opportunity
It's
to
kind
round
of
out. Just
funny.
couldn't press
So
all the
either
buttons
Nathan,
quick enough.
Nathan's either cutting us off or we have a dead silence. And we have to choose between the two.
How dare you? Only in an intro and outro. Maybe that's true.
He'll only shut us off if we're wrong.
Don't accuse me like the fundies accuse me of doing things that our opponents clearly do on their neutral platforms. John, of all people, knows the score.
But maybe if us panel members are going to complain about it, then those ballers might feel like, oh no, that room's actually more sympathetic to us. We're going to take that chance and get on the flat earth debates.
It is actually true, though, isn't it? I mean, while I'm defending it, the fact remains, when there's an opponent on there making their incorrect claims, you guys do feel compelled to talk straight through the middle of them. And I often do have to close down that line, your line, so that they can make their claim complete without interruption.
Well, Brian does.
I get it.
I think the only times I would interrupt them is if they're, it's not if they're explaining their cackwaffle, it's if they try to strawman me, is where I would interject at that point. I wouldn't allow somebody to strawman me or rephrase incorrectly what I've just said. So I'd interject there. But I think even on here, we let people get the waffle out first time, maybe a bit of the second time, definitely not the third.
Yeah, because the second rendition will come in the middle of the first rebuttal. The third rendition will come after you've objected to them interjecting into the rebuttal. There's a good chance they'll also interject while you summarise their position.
I don't even understand that claim, because when somebody hypes up and says, well, I think it's a sphere, or I think it's a globe, everyone shuts the hell up and listens to him because we all want to hear that. So I don't understand his claim of, oh, we don't let people speak. We mute people. We want to hear what the hell these people are going to come in here and say. Are you kidding? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Did that go out on Rumble?
I don't know.
Maybe I'll find out later.
Did you speak to me there? I was just coughing and misheard it.
That was set up to go out on both Rumble and YouTube. I just don't know if it did or not.
No, I'm afraid not. It didn't work. So we're going to have to manually schedule a thing for Rumble if you want to. But I would suggest maybe focus on something that we can do a standard thing for. So Facebook is a standard channel, and so is X, I think, whereas Rumble is the custom, and that seems to be the issue.
When you say the custom, what do you mean?
Well, they don't have a tie-in with Rumble. They don't have an agreement. So that's why it doesn't work automatically, I guess. But they don't tell you that. They just say that the title and stuff won't work, but they don't say you won't go live. And we did go live, so it doesn't entirely make sense. But I'm just going on what they actually say.
Does that
and
just
what's
mean
actually
that
happened.
Okay, that's fine. So we can't just allow it as we did to do it automatically. But tomorrow, can we attempt to do one manually to see if we can get it to work again?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you'd prefer to do. Yeah.
Well, we'll just try. If that's the way it has to be done, I don't mind doing it that way.
Okay. Yep.
But if I have to account for an extra, currently the setup time's about 20 minutes. So I start typically at about 1, and I connected with you today about 20 past 1. Is that correct? Roughly. But that's how long it takes me to set up, about 20 minutes. So if it takes 25 minutes to set up, so be it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me.
I like to allow an hour, because if something goes wrong, the computer crashes, something won't load, something demands a restart and an install of an update, that gives me enough time to account for all of that. And sometimes it can take double, and sometimes we'll get right up to the wire, and it's like 2 minutes to 2, and I've just started the recording. I've done the introduction for the members on the recorded stream, and then as soon as I've finished, I'm like, I've got to go live immediately then. So then you go live immediately, and there basically is no pre-show. There's 2 intros. But at least I'm live. I think I'm pretty consistent. Today I was 2 minutes late because my watch is slow. I think my watch needs servicing, actually. Starting to lose time all the time now. But anyway, that aside. I'm typically on time. I don't tend to be late. Because it really bugs me as an audience member. I remember watching Patricia Steer, and it used to really bug me that she would just say that she'd go live at 10. So I'd sit up till 10 thinking, that's pretty late. But, I can cope with staying up till 11. And then she'd start at 10 to 11. Like, number one, I've sat around doing nothing for 50 minutes waiting for your show to start. And number two, it's going to be later than I want it to be. If I'd have known it started at 11, there's a good chance I'd just watch it as a recorded show, not sit up and wait for it to be live. Anyway, I want to be time consistent.
I'm sorry.
You are too, Arwin. I remember telling you the first time you inquired with me about the best way to go about it, and I was like, set a time, be consistent, do it, and you have. You've consistently kept that time slot.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I kept the slot, but I don't actually keep the time that much. Meaning I'm late a lot, especially this winter.
Very unprofessional.
Yeah. Oh, too bad.
Fair enough. Well, we're obviously different ends of the extreme in this particular instance. Me, I'll start an hour before my live stream starts, so I've got plenty of time to get everything in order. And then if there happens to be time to have a pre-show and get people sound checked in that hour, then great. And I record it because, as you well know, there's often times that fundies will come in the pre-show while we're doing the sound check.
Yeah, you have a panel and everything. I don't really have a panel, so if I'm like super on time on my show, I'm mostly just waiting the first half hour for people to say more than one word.
Well, maybe if you start on time all the time, you wouldn't have to go and chat requesting people join your show.
I used to do that 2 years ago, and exactly this happened every time.
Just schedule your stream half an hour later. Just have a consistent start time that's half an hour later, if that's what time you can consistently get ready for. Just have a 1:30 start time.
1:30, but yeah. Yeah, no, but it doesn't work, because then I'm like, okay, I'm going to settle it's going to be later. Guess what's happening? I'm going to be early then. And then when I decide, okay, I'm just going to try to be on time again, I get late. It just keeps happening.
If you're early, you just sit around for 5 minutes until the time's whatever.
If I have a lot to like roll out, I'll make sure to be on time. a lot of the times I have to kind of figure out what am I going to be talking about while the show is rolling. So, right?
Yeah, it's a good job we're not boring people with computer talk or anything, Nathan.
Say again, Paul?
I said it's a good job we're not boring people with computer talk or anything, Nathan.
Get lost.
Just bend the time if you're not happy with it.
That's fourth dimensional conceptual there, one deck. Been watching Indiana Jones as well, eh?
I did manage to trigger all my trolls today, though, with just the title. They all felt very compelled to say, "Oh, you got all the three fallacies in one title." Who? They really didn't like it.
I think you should give Baldwin his own show, like separate to your early bird, and put it at a later time slot. You'd have a huge fan base immediately.
No.
Need someone to work with. You've got to riff off someone to do Baldwin.
Yeah, like you guys. Nathan, especially. I know you love it, Nathan.
You like my fake irritation, don't you, Arwin? My pretend disdain. Which is often real disdain. It's a
tremor in your voice that really does it for me every time.
The high-pitched, annoyed voice?
Yeah, and the certain type of sigh. Nah, but I know Baldwin is not like a thing, really. It's a response. I'm not Baldwin. Baldwin comes out in response to things. That's how it works.
Found out why my computer's crashing in standby. I knew it was graphics card related. When you tune a graphics card, you do it under stress at the highest temperature. Well, the algorithm for the graphics card will then increase the frequency that the card works at when it lowers the temperature, causing it to crash. So it was crashing when it was at the very, very, very lowest voltage. When it was in sleep mode, I'd come back in the morning and it would fall over and you'd have to turn it back on as opposed to just move your mouse. Well, the reason is because I'm testing it and making sure it's stable with a show running under a high load. And when it's not under a high load at 80C, it's at 35C. And because it's dropped a significant amount of temperature, it's going, I can boost the clocks higher. No, you can't. So to get around it, I know you found this out on a water cooling forum where they're like, why don't they tell you that it does this? And I'm like, I've not found this information anywhere except on a really specific water cooling forum. Anyway, they went through it and I'm like, what do you do to get around it? So I then had to search all the way through the forum to find the solution, which is find out what the maximum temperature and frequency it will operate at. Then cool the PC to the coldest you can get it, and then set all of those frequencies and save it. So you trick the algorithm into knowing that that's what it can do at that temperature. Therefore, it can't get any lower and increase the clocks. There you go. That's what I learned. About 18 months or whatever it's been. 15 months of it never, ever not crashing in standby. I've just figured it out today. Really pleased with myself. I know, Paul.
So you're tricking the computer?
You're tricking it into not using its temperature algorithm. If you tune it to be working at, say, 1,000, the frequency of the clocks is 1,000 at 80 degrees C, and you set it and save it there, then it cools down to 40 C and goes, I can go up to 1,200 then. Well, no, because that pushes it into instability. But it tends to only be doing that at the very lowest of voltages, and I couldn't figure out why until I found out on a forum. And sure enough, I went back and replicated it. You know, you can only confirm these things if you can replicate it. So I went in, set the frequency to 2715, and the temperature's at 90C at the absolute maximum when I've run it for ages to get it as hot as it can possibly be. I've then saved that and then cooled it down. And then gone back to the graph, and the graph's all moved up, and I'm like, whoa, what's it doing? I'm like, oh, okay, so it does actually do that then. So now I know it does it. I tried it the other way. I cooled it down to 28 degrees C, as cold as I could get it. I let it run with all the fans on full blast for about an hour, had a shower, came back, then saved it, And it didn't matter. It didn't matter what temperature it got up to. It stayed at the same frequency. So you just have to trick it. And he's like, if you don't know it does that, you'll get it stable under high temperature, and then it'll crash when it's cold. Anyway.
Thanks, Neil. Why don't you ask him another question so he can tell us again?
Oh, ask me about RAM.
Ask him to be more specific, Neil.
Thank you, Nathan. I needed to understand that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Neil. As it rides the voltage curve between the overall power output because of voltage versus the frequency that it's actually delivering on the clock that's being used. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it does. Appreciate that.
Does electricity actually have a speed?
Yeah, there you go. Now we're on it.
Earth's special flight, you know, it is. It's how it operates.
You know what really surprised me while I woke up and I was listening to the show was listening to two numpty dipshits, one Dunning-Kruger, one idiot, incompetent flat earther, and then all of a sudden, right out of the blue, Witset's boy Apocryphon comes on all non sequitur, off topic, and starts preaching to the group. That was really special to me.
He then muted himself halfway through his own sentence that I was paying attention to. He just stopped himself.
You didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
That was even scarier.
He was hot micing, guys.
Oh, was he having a conversation with someone else?
Yes, hot mic.
Oh, so he's having a side discussion, nothing to do with the show, about the nature of the existence of a creator. Just happened to be open mic while he was doing it. Realised when I said, "Oh no, that's really interesting," and then he's closed his mic and carried on his conversation. Very interesting.
What's Witset's boy doing in here?
I didn't know he was Witset's boy, number one, but there we go.
That's Witset's boy. Witset said he was his boy.
I have to keep track, especially now that I'm like involving Witset in my rhetoric. I have to keep track.
Do you? Why?
I don't know, because I kind of like, since QE thought it was so funny, I like to periodically say I like to beat Witset with a stick.
I noticed you docked Witset another 10 points in that video that you forwarded where you were you were that professor guy that you were swearing at a lot. You docked him another 10 IQ points.
What?
Yeah, I docked him another 10 yeah, he's talking to me. I docked him another 10 IQ points for infinitesimus prodigious whirls of velocity.
Come again? One more time.
Infinitesimus prodigious whirls of velocity.
Infantesimus?
Not infantesimus. Infinitesimus prodigious whirls of velocity. So I dropped him another 10. It pissed me off.
Okay, fair enough. So shit's at 10. What's next? Yes. How many more? Is it just single digit docking from now on? It'll be shit's at 9 next.
Yes. You're on top of it.
It's going to be shits at 10 to the -6.
Can never
Can't
be
have
negative.
negative IQ points, and let's not get absurd.
That's not a negative I, is it? It's a very small.
No. You have some pretender clown flat earthers here. That's not negative.
Oh, that'll get trimmed out, won't it? Yes, you're right. It's a very, very small decimal place, isn't it?
Should have known to challenge a mathematician.
Mathematician.
I just heard the negative bit. It was my. I'm lying. My audio system's perfect. I heard him perfectly. There's no excuse.
Well, after a certain IQ drop, there's simply no more way to really measure it, because it's mostly just irresponsiveness.
I watched Idiocracy again the other night. When he's doing the IQ test, I forgot about that. When he looks around him and there's these people drooling and trying to put like triangle shapes in square holes and such like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, that movie was really well made. They
wouldn't a negative IQ
into really putting down what dumb people actually think, like to take it serious in a way.
You can't have a negative IQ. Boom! Totally redeemed myself.
Well, what I was saying, a negative IQ would make people around you dumber, wouldn't it? Isn't that what he's doing?
In what context? I don't follow.
Well, IQ suppression, but that doesn't. What the effect or the influences of what you do isn't necessarily an indicator for your own IQ. I mean, you're going to need an IQ in order to roll out a program that will effectively suppress other people's IQ.
So he's been programmed with a negative IQ, then, is what you're saying?
Who? Whitsitt or the guy in Idiocracy?
Whitsitt.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking around.
There's no negative IQ. It just kind of dries up, right? I mean, I don't think there's any kind of standard to measure anything below 20 IQ.
You realize?
Well, how much do you read?
You realize the only reason we're discussing this is because Whitsitt, about 5 years ago, claimed that he got 140 IQ.
Yeah, of course.
Well, how much do you read, Nathan?
Read?
And is it hardcover books?
What's this reading? I had that on
Nathan, are you taking any
I got that from
information?
JLB. I was in JLB's chat the other day, and I was talking about fallacies and logic. And out of the blue, he took the hump with me because we were talking about star rotation. And he's been caught a cropper here live. And I think he'd had a couple of drinks. But you know, when you've had a couple of drinks and the things that really tick you off come out a lot easier. Well, I think that's what he was doing on his live stream, right? And I'm in the chat chatting away with his, his audience, so to speak. And he took the hump with me and then started asking me where I'd learned about logical fallacies. He didn't ask me where I'd learnt logic, which is actually the order of things. I learnt about logical fallacies after learning about logic. And I learnt about logic probably from specific books that I can't remember when I was at school. Now, that's not the typical education structure that most people go through. I went to a posh school. My parents shipped me off to a private school. Well, in so doing, the education structure that I had was entirely different to most people's. So his questioning of me in terms of, well, what book did you learn about logical fallacies in? And I'm like, I didn't. I learned about logic at school. But not being able to reference a very specific, the big book of logical fallacies, you know what I mean? What are you asking me? Which book I learned fallacies in? You don't. You learn the form of the logic and where it's flawed. And as you learn them, you might learn them from an individual. You might learn them from a book. Don't get me wrong. I've looked up plenty of logical fallacy structures online when I've not understood them. But would I be able to point him to a particular book that I've got? Like I say, a big book of logical fallacies? No, you just have a grasp of how things logically work so that you can then easily appreciate how they don't logically work. I mean, that's how I learned it, but where's the book?
Show me the book where you get the steps to the scientific method now.
Neil, that was very disappointing. I was waiting for you to ask Nathan if it was hardcover or paperback. Yep.
I did ask him that.
He did ask.
Before.
Did he? All right, you pass.
Neil's ace. What are you talking about?
Woohoo!
Huey.
What?
Get stuffed.
No, that's
Happy New Year,
Adam.
brother.
Adam gets stuffed.
That was perfect. Thank you. I needed that.
I still don't
where's
understand.
the paperback and hardcover book come from? That comes from Shits at 10.
Oh, was he?
Apparently, there's a difference in the information that you get, whether it be hardcover or paperback. Apparently, I don't know. You have to ask him.
It will be shits it to the 10 to the negative 17 Tor soon, won't it?
So that's where that came from, if you wanted to know.
Was it 140 that he claimed originally, or was it 160?
I thought it was 160.
I just want to know Whitsit's foundational argument as to why the light, which has a supposed speed, requires a medium other than the volume of empty space to move through. I just want him to give a straight answer to that.
It doesn't have a speed. It's a rate of induction on it.
Oh, it's so-called speed.
Come on, keep up.
It's the why does it need to have a medium to go through because it has a so-called speed? I want to know.
How many people got Adam's joke? I just want an intelligence quota check. How many people got Adam's joke that he just slipped in? Is nobody going to put that? Nobody's going to put their hand up. Check it out, Adam.
I already put my hand up.
I heard QE laugh already. You don't need to qualify QE. You obviously got the joke.
Yeah.
Is it just a rate of induction, you say, Adam?
Yeah, but it's not a joke, and he wasn't portraying it as a joke. It's what what Shit-10 says.
Oh, you're beautiful. I love it. Yes, absolutely. That's actually their rhetoric. To me, it's just a joke, though, isn't it?
Yes, if you define what rate is. Can you do that for everyone?
Rate? No, not rate. Let's change the word. Now you're qualifying what speed would be. That's unreasonable, QE. How dare you?
Nothing's moving.
You want to define rate? You want to define up?
It's already there. All that's happening is it's becoming manifest.
Yes, but
it's perturbation.
Yeah, but
it's just a perturbation.
Medium then, other than the volume that is available to it to move through.
Arwen likes that. Light gets excited. Arwen likes that. When Whitsitt said it gets excited.
Excitation is
like
for illumination, isn't it?
Yes, I think we've answered
the excitation of matter idea as a secondary effect, but I'm not gonna try to make that argument to back ether or that kind of nonsense. It's just yeah, light's very fascinating. There's stuff happening there. There's
exactly,
mysteries.
Arwen. Exactly. Therefore, ether. I think we answered your question.
It's not.
Don't know.
You're getting it wrong. It's not the rate of light does not have a speed. It's a rate of induction of perception.
Of the perturbation. Of the manifestation of the perturbation.
Oh my God. That's where I really
the rate of induction of perception?
No, not protection, perturbation.
Hold on.
Chocolate needs to understand these words. God, Chocolate, you're just not with the ether. You're not with the new hotness, eh? Long time no see.
I think you need to break down that whole explanation of ether, Nathan.
We're going through it now. We're breaking it down piece by piece. It's not the protection; it's the perturbation.
But why does light that doesn't actually move, but it has a quote-unquote speed, why would it need a medium to move through if it has a quote-unquote speed?
Right, not speed, right.
Yeah, that's why I say quote-unquote. He literally says quote-unquote speed, okay? So I'm just quoting him.
Yeah, but you're straw manning. You're invoking a medium to move through. It's not, the medium doesn't move other than just the ether rotation. It's just the perturbation that creates the perception of illumination that you want to call a speed, but it is just the rate of induction.
But why does it need a medium for that?
The medium is everywhere. It is constant. It is already there.
I mean,
it is the medium is the light.
No swearing.
Just shut up. That's not an answer.
The medium is the light. It's just not.
Hold on.
Excitation for illumination.
Hold on. Let me just qualify that for Arwen. That is not an answer. Is both true and false. It is not an answer. That's right. It's nonsense. But it simultaneously is the answer from an Ethereum. Adam is correct. He knows his stuff.
Wait, did you say the medium?
But sorry.
So
that's called a response, not an answer. It wasn't an answer. It was a response. It didn't answer anything.
Can you play that little clip of the ether for? I don't think Chocolate's been keeping up on the flat Earth debate.
That's what I just asked.
Yeah, I don't think he knows.
Chocolate?
Patience, young Skywalker.
yeah, I'm here. What's up?
No, patience, Arwen.
Are you going to play a video?
Yeah, he's going to get it now, Arwen.
Are you gonna put
Relax.
a little rhyme? The little rhyme scheme that he should have put.
Got to speak up, Chalk. Go on here.
Background beat.
Speak up, chocolate.
Oh, you guys can't hear me?
Nah, now we can.
Real low.
Headphones suck. Sorry.
You have to sound off, chocolate. You know, like you got a pair.
Got him.
Well, it seems that it's taken him a little bit longer to grab that.
I don't know why he just didn't recite it.
Yeah, he could have done that.
Arwin, do you get that the light isn't traveling through the medium? It is the medium.
That depends on when you ask him.
Well, this is in response to this specific question, obviously.
No, it's not an.
Wait, so the light is the medium.
The effect being the
light
thing that is caused by the effect is no.
Everything is the ether. Everything.
Yeah, but the effect caused by the thing can't be the thing. Like, you can't be the thing that you're causing. It makes no sense.
No. You've got to understand it. Think of it like water. Water can be liquid, can be ice, or it could be vapor, couldn't it? Yeah? It can be any of those things. So it depends whether it's manifest or not, yeah, as to how you're going to see it. So if it's unmanifest, you're not going to have the perception of illumination. Okay, but as the perturbation reaches that point of the ether, then the light becomes illuminated, giving the perception of illumination. What you might try to describe as a speed, but more fundamentally, it could be described as a rate of induction.
That sounds like verbal masturbation.
No, it's not. It's the rate of the perception of the induction. That's why you don't have a speed, and it's speed in quotes, because it's the rate of the perception.
Correct.
Yeah, keep it up, Adam, and I'm going to beat you with a stick.
But he's correct. This is their nonsense. You think he's lying? That's their nonsense. I had to double check with Adam as I was writing that garbage down. But this is actually their nonsense. If you go back and listen to them, that's what they say. This is what they say. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it was Johnny. Remember Johnny was in that day talking that crazy stuff?
Yeah. But Whitsit says it. Go back and listen to any Shitsit 20 taken to the woodshed by QE, and you'll hear him saying those things in that order.
Correct.
I mean, if you want to put a number on it, Arwen, then the way to do that would be to measure magnetic induction through a vacuum. You want to quantify it. But that's going to show you that the rate of induction, that's all, without illumination. The transference of the induction, you see, from one side of the vacuum to the other. And we can do that. We've got experiments that can demonstrate that.
Thousands of experiments.
I would like to kind of demonstrate what it would roughly sound like if I beat you with a stick.
What, in a vacuum?
No, you wouldn't hear it in a vacuum.
Good point.
No one can hear you scream with a
stick.
Get horsey with me, but I won't have you strawman the Church of True Earth.
The Church of True Earth. And which is the Pope.
I'm not having any of it.
He needs to be beaten with a stick. That was classic, man. Classic. I loved it.
It's because it's so appropriate. That's exactly the feeling I get.
Got a visual on that, man. And it connects with something I used to tell people back in the day. That probably has a little bit of extra oomph to it for me.
What? Tell us about it.
Well, a buddy of mine, way back in the day, he said, well, what's up with these fat people? All you have to do is tape their mouths shut and chase them around a track with a stick. That's what.
Okay.
Wow.
Arwen came out after all that bullshittery over and over and over again. It was ludicrous. I was waiting for Arwen to go into this big, deep dive philosophically into unraveling it. He didn't do it. This guy needs to be beaten with a stick. And ended it right there. It's fucking hilarious. Just struck me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so much. It defies being defined. It just becomes too tiresome to even address it. Right?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I think now we've got a hold of their whimsical wording, we can just take the mickey out of it. Point out how absurd it is.
Well, yeah, you could do that. You can repeat it and then show how absurd it is, but you literally can't address it. I literally tried to address it with Adam, and he responded in according to the model, which literally isn't a response. And that is what's so tiresome about it. There is just no inquiry or communication or logic behind any of it.
Ether does not have a model. It does not have a model, Ether. It has a framework, but it's not a model.
No. That's how we prove things.
Let's have a go with Adam. After that, there's only one word that I need. Show. QE uses it all the time. I can overcome everything Adam says with that one word every time he makes a stupid, nonsensical, gibberish claim. All right, show me.
Show the rate of induction of magnets through a vacuum.
Okay.
You have to wait for the light to get excited first.
Okay.
No, he's talking about a magnet, not light. Go ahead, show.
What, you want me to cite the experiment?
No, show it.
Yeah. Show it.
What, right now?
It's already off to a bad start, isn't he? Arwen.
I think you're being wholly unreasonable.
He's already on the ropes. One word.
No, next week.
One word.
Yeah, well, okay, admittedly, any form of empiricism is fundamentally a major flaw in these theologies. But let's not focus on that. Yeah?
Okay, what are we going to focus on?
Well, I mean, I'd like to point out that electrons are fake. That's part of it.
No. Let's not worry about what's not. Let's worry about what is with regard to the ether, as you're the emissary, and you find yourself in an awkward position where you've just been complimented for how easily you can get around Arwen's objections in all forms by just offering up the same bullshit again. And I say, no, one word can overcome all of this. So let's not worry about what's not. Just let's get back onto the ether. You were doing so well until now.
Okay. Well, I could show you how the rate of change of rotation of the ether. Would that suffice?
But in so doing, you'll be showing me the ether. So in so doing, you'll be showing me the ether, correct?
No, definitely, yeah, through experiment.
Okay, what are you going to show me?
Well, I've got a gyro that uses light, and because obviously light is the ether, yeah, we can show that there's a rate of change, and we've got. I mean, thousands, millions maybe of results that will confirm this. And we can also show that this rate of change will change as we increase in altitude. And that is commensurate with our understanding of the toroidal shape that is formed by the rotation of the ether.
Okay, forget the example and show me the rotation of the toroidal shape of the ether. Let's see that and see if once we've seen that, we'll see if your experiment is commensurate as opposed to a cause and effect relationship.
You want to see a toroidal shape of the ether?
To see if it's commensurate with this experiment that you're claiming.
Yeah. Let me show you the toroid. So Okay. So as you can see here, if you imagine that we are here in the
Whoa.
center of the
No.
plate.
Stop. Imagine what now? No. That's not what I asked for. Show me it in our physical reality so I can see if your example in the experiment is commensurate, as opposed to imaginations of what could be in a drawing of a three-dimensional toroid. I know what a three-dimensional toroid is.
Yeah. So lovely. Look at that. That one moves. So now if you imagine this dielectric plane bisecting the two toroids, both the negative.
You've just rinsed and repeat though. This isn't helping Arwin understand how I've just overcome it. You're telling me to imagine it again when I'm asking you to show.
Like I've previously stated, any form of empiricism is sadly lacking. It's much better to theorize. So, just bringing it back.
So just so we're clear, are you suggesting that this is perhaps just merely a logical framework?
Well, I mean, I can levitate a frog, if that'll help.
Is it just a logical framework, not involving a physical demonstration of that which I will be comparing to something else to say, is this which we haven't seen and you haven't shown me yet, and twice you've said, I need to imagine myself in this toroid depiction on screen, right?
Yeah, and if
could you just show me the toroidal shape of the ether field so I can compare it to your experiment? I know you've tried twice to tell me to imagine it. Can you not do that?
No.
See how easy that was, Arwin?
So it's an illogical framework.
No.
I love it. Neil takes him back into a position where he can fight his cause again. No. The logical framework is a way of saying bullshit that I can't prove in physical reality, Neil. As soon as you infer...
I didn't say logical. I did not say logical. I said it's illogical framework.
Yeah, and then he gets the opportunity to disagree with you and tell you how logical his framework is, doesn't he?
Oh, I see. Yeah. I gave him an open door again.
Yes, you did, yes. He was about to walk through it. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm sorry. I need some clarification. Maybe I missed a few episodes. Maybe the rhetoric's changed. I've heard a couple of times you guys say that the light is the ether. Wait.
No.
I thought that. Wait, hold on. I thought that ether was needed for light to propagate. So now light is the ether that light needs to propagate. So light needs light to propagate.
You just need a distinguishment between what you perceive and the rate of your perception of the induction versus what is light. Wow, you think I'm joking? That's what they think.
No, the thing is, Chocolate, if you want to use the term ether, then I'm happy for you to do so. Okay? That helps you in your understanding. Then I'm not invoking the term ether, really. It really is manifest or unmanifested light, yeah? All of it is the same thing. But if it helps you in your understanding, then let's use that term ether moving forwards.
Are we trying to move?
I feel like I'm going to throw up if I hear any more of this.
Isn't it beautiful?
This was actually said to someone, Chocolate, by Whitsitt.
Really?
Yeah, he invited them, to patronise and realise that it's a simpler understanding. But if you want to invoke the term ether, that'll help you understand. Then I'll use that terminology for you, Chocolate.
That's correct. And these guys were ballers, and they were all wide-eyed, mouth open, asking questions and wanting answers from the Oracle Whitsitt.
Could you imagine if you had to go through all of that just to describe a cup of water?
Excuse me, we're not talking about cups of water when we talk about the ethereal counterspace that incorporates our entire existence. How dare you dumb it down to such a mundane thing as a cup of water, John? What are you talking about?
What is? We're talking about what is, right? Or are we not talking about what is? Are we talking about what you're imagining?
Well, when we describe it, we must conceptualize these things to describe them, John, as you well know.
So then it's not what is.
So
we don't really need
it is
to work
what
at
is.
the really is level.
No, it is within the logical framework.
Okay, so physical.
But not what is.
So, let's think about that triple point of water analogy again. So when we're discussing like a cup of water, what we're dealing with there is actual physicality manifestation of the ether. So the way that's going to happen is at a much lower frequency. Yeah. So if we're vibrating at a lower frequency, then physicality is going to manifest within the ether.
Yeah, this is still just a story. But you don't have to do that when you're talking about physical things.
Oh, water could be ice or steam.
Why it's physical? Yeah.
Why it's what is? Is that what you're trying to say? Why is it what is?
Yeah. The energy vibration is at a much lower level, which is why it's manifesting as matter as opposed to light.
We can talk about how is who. How is who?
No, don't take it into why is what is to say that we are describing what could be in our world within the framework that is logical. What's wrong with that?
Exactly, and then with that, you can get free energy, John.
How is water logical?
The analogy of water having three different phases, if you can use that analogy and draw that to ether and how different energy levels of the ether could either be non-manifest, light, or even down at lower vibrational levels, the manifestation of physical matter.
Right. If you confuse what's happening with what is, you can really get confused. Yeah.
No, you just don't understand. No, it's not confusing when there's a logical framework in place that is just not understood by some.
Like I said, you don't need a logical framework for what is. That's silly.
I'm not the one asking what is the ether all the time. People keep asking me what it is, and I can only describe how within the logical framework it would be described. I mean, if you want to call it ether,
that's another way of saying it doesn't exist, though.
What doesn't exist?
You're not listening, John.
If it didn't exist, how would
saying it only exists as a logical framework?
Excuse me, John.
Adam,
you interrupted Adam attempting to beg the question. Do you mind? Go ahead, Adam.
So it didn't exist. How would the light propagate through a vacuum then?
Exactly.
But I thought the light was the medium that it needed to propagate. So if there's light,
that's not his argument anymore.
That was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, Chocolate. If you need to talk about how light propagation is really the perception of induction, of illumination, yeah, then we can re-explain that, because I'm happy to keep going through that bit.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. We're asking for explanations. No, what is not an explanation.
I'm just trying to give you understanding.
No, what is? Not an explanation. Don't explain it. Show me.
You can turn a light on and watch propagation rate of induction as the room illuminates. That's it. You do it really slow with the time lapse, you'd see the wave occur.
Yeah, you'd see the excitation.
This is still an explanation. Yeah, it's still an explanation. That's not, no. Show me. Don't
You're
talk.
being very close-minded, John.
We just need to see the ether for us to accept it.
If you want to see it, it's
already there.
No, you can't. It's invisible. So if you want, no, of course you can't see it. It's invisible. But if you want to see it, the best way to do that is to look up at a full moon, and then you might see it ripple.
No,
if you're after some kind of visual confirmation, you're that desperate, you have to see it, then go to a full moon to see the invisible thing.
No.
That's how you see the invisible. You just have to see it.
He's trying to. Can you let him? Hold on. Everyone stop. Just let Adam describe the excitation when viewing libration. Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you.
So, obviously, under normal circumstances, this is impossible to see. But if you listen to the good pastor, we've recently reinterpreted a lot of Crow 777's work to now give you the visualization of the thing that was invisible. So if you are
Right, I never
that
asked
way
you to see
inclined,
it.
you can go on a full moon, look at a lunar wave, and then you'll be able to see that there you go. That is a ripple in the ether.
Yeah, I never asked to see it. That was Nathan. Nathan asked you to see it. I asked you for a measurement. And
Holy shit! The
no
lunar
more
wave
explaining.
was a ripple in the ether. Wait, so we got the ether on video. I've seen the lunar wave. That's awesome.
Wow, chocolate. How far behind are you?
I don't
of course
care
we've got
about this
visual.
ether nonsense, bro.
We've got visual confirmation of
serious?
the ether vibration. We've had ether confirmation of the libration vibration for quite some time. Did you not know?
See, now is the perfect time to drop that on him. He never heard the full definition of ether.
There is no definition of ether. It's,
Don't you tell me what I didn't hear.
Chocolate heard it. Chocolate heard it. He pinpointed it. Yeah, I heard him say it.
Okay, you heard it. All right, so you're up to speed.
Well, why don't we get it from?
okay, what is ether?
Why don't we get it from somebody that's in the congregation and who's shit to ten's boy? You got him right in chat. Right.
Come on, Apocrypha.
Apocrypha.
Apocrypha. You got it.
Yeah, what's his boy?
Yeah, he super chats him for his infinitesimus prodigious worlds of philosophy.
Hey, Apocrypha.
What's happening, everybody?
Right,
Happy New Year.
now you've engaged with us. Everybody, we're going to be polite to Apocryphon, aren't we? We're going to let him talk. Go ahead. Hello. Good to have you.
What's going on, man? Happy New Year.
Did you know you were hot micing earlier?
Yeah, way earlier, like about an hour ago or so. I hot mic and like I was like, oh shit! Like I thought I hit mute, but I hit unmute. I was like, oops, my bad.
Your conversation was actually quite
into
interesting. That we were. It's often, someone's hot micing, and it's like, yeah, can you put the kettle on? Well, it'll be coming around in about an hour and a half, maybe 3. That's the kind of hot micing you normally get. Whereas you were actually having a worthy discussion for us to all prick our ears up and listen to.
Yeah, we just finished. It was a long conversation. Talking about creator and stories and beliefs, and it was really interesting.
Did you know you're being referred to as Witsit's boy?
I heard him say that just now. Yeah.
Any idea why people are calling you Witsit's boy?
Yeah, because he what's up, Huey? Huey, he tagged me to the clip. I guess he was doing a review of his video, and he's like, "What's up, Puck from my boy?" And then he's like, "Oh, that's there's your boy." I was like, "Oh man, come on." I mean, that's cool. Like, I consider I've been hanging around with all you guys long enough for what, past 6 years. I mean, in one way or another, you kind of like, I would say, like, I would back you up in a fight, if you will. Like, yo, don't mess with my boy. Like, I know this guy. We go back. We've been talking a long time. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I could be wrong though.
Oh, fair enough.
Where you stand on the ether?
Where do I stand on the ether? It's interesting. Definitely.
What's interesting?
It's interesting in the sense of like it's just another explanation of I think what Globers are calling dark energy and dark matter. They're just a different word. I mean, they're at this point it's just words with descriptions and beliefs, and if there's scientific tests they can do, and they test this and they test that and all these different things. But I think it's all kind of still comes down to we don't know. It's just hypothesizing, and that's the way I look at it.
Back to the same old question. What is ether?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. there's I
That
guess
was
because
probably
a
the
lot
most
of
honest response on what is ether that I've heard.
Yeah, speak up, chocolate.
I said that was probably the most honest response on what ether is that I've heard. Simply said, I don't know.
There you go.
because I don't.
So
I guess
Thank you for being honest. Appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, I believe that people
start off.
are
Starting off with beliefs.
That's important. Don't start off that way, boy. You're gonna get into a world of hurt. You might want to start over again.
Let me say it a different way. It seems as though many people are like looking into it and trying to, make sense of what the knowledge from before has been presented, I guess you could say. But it's still just people, men and women, going through this so-called, discovery and knowledge and findings and tests and all this stuff. But they're still trying to figure it out. And I think both sides are doing that. I mean,
figure what out?
That's my question. Figure what out?
Figure out exactly what they're being told that is or isn't on the other side of that coin. So like the what would be like okay, so what are those lights in the sky? What are they in? Are they in anything? Are they resting in something? Are they like where do they exist? What are they? Kind of like okay, put it this way: fish are in water. So stars are in what? What are they in? I mean, I don't know. That's where the dark energy, dark matter, ether, all that stuff comes from. But I honestly don't know.
Okay, so if we accept that you're of the ilk that believes in ether, what is it that anybody, doesn't have to be Witsit or anybody else, has offered in regards to those answers to those questions? So the question being, what are the stars, or more specifically, what are the stars in? Have they answered those questions for you?
They've attempted to, yeah. They definitely but again, I can't myself. I wouldn't, put a flag on that and claim it victory because it's still just a conversation of the unknown and of things that we'll never be able to measure and truly get to because we can't physically go there. I'm
How do you know
very,
that?
very
Hold on, that's a claim. How do you know that?
because that's a claim that I believe. That's fair to say.
Okay.
For myself.
I thought it was something that you'd stand by based on what they told you within ether, which it obviously isn't. Okay. I mean, I would challenge that. I would say you don't know that we can't go there either. As much as it seems absurd to go to lights in the sky, and that's also what they claim, I don't know that we can't do that either. And neither do you.
Was that a pun intended? Was that a pun intended right there? We can't go there either.
No, it wasn't an intentional pun if it came out that way. But I'm just saying, so forget that side point. You would concede that in spite of your attention with regards to ether, they haven't actually assisted you in any way to answer the question about what the stars are or what they're in. Am I right?
No, not at all.
What's it worth to you?
To me, what is it worth? Is that what you said? You kind of cut out. Sorry.
And I'm not going to just automatically say, well, that's a complete waste of time then, without you saying, no,
right.
It's worth X because this has been achieved.
I guess maybe more of the what's the point of looking into it? I think maybe because it is worth looking into it just for the sense of just to know, just to have that, that discovery, if you will, I guess. Like we can't get to that point if we don't look into it, so to speak. But I just don't know if we will ever truly be able to discover or come across that.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
an
know.
answer.
What if
No, that's a decent motivational answer. So you're saying the potential for discovery keeps you motivated to keep abreast of the ether discussion because they may potentially find out what the stars are and what they're in. Correct?
right? Possibly. I don't know. But yeah, I guess in theory, again, because I'm saying I'm under the firm belief that we can't get to the stars and we can't physically get there and see what they're made out of and what their environment is and where they're at. That's along the lines of where I stay and where I stand. Jeremiah 31:37 to be specific, but again, that's my belief, so I hold on to that.
So why the back to the original question then? Why the interest in ether?
Well, maybe because it's something new to learn. Almost like it's a new chapter in a book. Like, so for instance, let's say like if you're in your classroom and you're like, okay, good, turn to chapter 7, okay, and that talks about one thing, and then you go to turn to chapter 8, and that talks about something like totally different, but trying to explain the same thing as chapter 7. But it's interesting. It's I guess because at
There
heart
is
I'm a
no
nerd.
chapter for ether.
No, there is a chapter for ether.
No,
But
I mean,
oh, hold on, Neil.
okay.
So I'm just trying to figure out the mentality. That's all. So there's a chapter in the book that's for ether, and you've read chapters 1 through 5 of a 12-chapter book. And at
Right.
chapter 5, you haven't learnt anything. Nothing's been worthy of your time so far, from what I can establish. But the potential only for finding out what the stars may be is at this stage, chapter 5, without anything worthy being offered to you, all you've got to be an Ethereum or have an interest in ether. The potential to maybe find out that there could be something to be explained in the stars upon discovery by them. So at this stage, from what I've took from what you've said, they have literally offered you nothing thus far.
Well, in regards to the stars, yeah, definitely. I don't even think there's even a place for that for right now. To be honest, maybe that's chapter 10. I don't know, but what I'm saying is like I think as far as what I've listened to, be it you guys keep saying his name, Witsit, or even Dicelo. I like to listen to Dicelo too. Either way, they're both kind of like from the school of Ken Wheeler, right? But um, just listening to the conversation overall, I do find it really interesting. Some of the principles that they speak about within the discussion of it all, like getting into electromagnetism and conductive energy and
What's
potential
that?
energy, like all
Hold
that
on,
whole
Neil.
stuff. I think all that stuff is really interesting as well.
Okay.
What? I can't get a clarification for what electromagnetism is?
Do you mean like you want the definition or?
I think he just means electromagnetism. What do you mean? That's what he means.
It's just the interaction of the field of like for instance, like when I was looking into it, like you're learning like there is a like from a magnet point of view, there's a pull. There's a pull.
What did you
and a,
just
and
say?
Just let him say it.
like so like from a
Hold on.
magnetic.
Let me just. Sorry,
from a magnet's from a magnet's
from a
point of view.
magnet's. Let me just start you off again. From a magnet's
Okay.
point of view, go ahead.
Yeah, from a magnet's point of view, right? Like there is a natural, like measurable, like attraction and pushing, or attract and pull. And it's interesting to when looking into that, like you find out that that's what actually causes a friction, and that because it's the pull, like the pushing and the pulling it simultaneously in this particular measured field, and then in
Okay.
that field it creates electricity. And so like
just before you
which
continue,
creates
I'm
a
really
charge, should I
sorry.
say.
Just before the
I'm sorry,
panel
go
are
ahead.
itching to correct you on something that you've said. But before we do,
Okay, sorry.
where have you got this from? Where have you learned this specifically about electromagnetism?
I was here. Let me look for the PDF. I was looking into this. It was talking about magnetism and how it creates friction, and that's how they get the charge. Like, I'll find it for you. I'll post it. It's really
That's
interesting.
magnetism.
How?
That's not electromagnetism.
I'm sorry.
Talked about magnets and magnetism. Not electromagnetism.
Yeah. No, well, electromagnetism would be the interaction of the field that's created from the magnet and then the electric currents that are going on within it. So thus you have like
No,
electromagnetism.
Just before you go on, QE, I know what you're going to say. We all know. He doesn't yet. He will shortly. Hold that thought. I promise. I will let you break it to him eventually. Okay? You've tried to once. Where did you get this from, though? The
Yeah,
PDF?
I'll pull it up.
I don't mean the PDF.
Yeah.
I mean, who put you in this direction?
Oh, just actually Dicelo.
Dicelo. Okay,
Just
cool.
talk-
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, QE, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dicelo, he's the one that said there's a difference between nothing and no thing. That philosopher.
Okay, but
That's correct.
Okay, the Apocryphon's got a PDF about magnetism, and he's specifically referencing how it refers to electromagnetism, and twice he's described what a magnet does with its electric field. Hence me wanting to tie it to a particular individual that's led you astray.
Field? No, not electric field, magnetic field.
I know, but he said electric. I know. I'm qualifying what Apocryphon has actually said, and then I've tried to save him by saying, where'd you get this from? Oh, from Dicelo, the Dumbo. So we don't have to berate Apocryphon. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, for even being involved in Dicelo, we have to.
Okay,
hey, Dicelo's a good
So
guy.
it's not electric. What he's giving you isn't in any way electric, is it?
I'm sorry, you're asking me?
Yeah, that's the point that they all wanted to object to.
Yeah, so here, watch. I'll just post it. It's pretty interesting.
Okay.
I believe this is it.
Okay.
Here, I'll put it in the chat.
I'm not too concerned about the PDF. I'm more concerned with the idea of the electromagnetic propagation within ether believers' dissemination of the libration observation in the moon, for instance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's somewhere else. I kind of caught earlier someone was saying, I think it was Adam, he was talking about like this wave that they recorded going over the moon or whatever. It looks like this really weird. But I mean, I don't to me it looks just like a ripple in water. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to mean is ether water. I don't know. It's just it's all theory because we're not up there. We can't literally. We're not there. I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
I think the main objection is that
we're on to a different subject because we're talking about the difference between magnetism, which you described, but you threw some electric stuff in there. That was non sequitur. So there's a difference between magnetism and is there a difference between magnetism and electromagnetism?
Well, yeah, in the sense of like a magnet is electromagnetism would be the interaction between the electrical currents with the magnet. But I guess they're kind of like what's the word when they're kind of one and the same though, because as you see in the PDF that I posted, it's saying like a magnetic by like just the way a magnet is by nature. Like there's a constant pull and push or attracting and retracting, which actually is what's at a really small level is what creates its field or that electric field. So they're kind of what's the word synonymous, kind of
Not
one
electric
together.
field. They're not synonymous. The key difference between the two, magnetism refers to phenomena associated with magnetic fields or magnetic forces, whereas the term electromagnetism is a type of magnetism produced by an electric current.
Yeah,
they're two different things.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that the
and an electron
I get what you're saying.
And the current, the electrical current is electrons flowing through a conductor.
I don't believe in electrons.
Oh boy, here we go.
There you go.
Okay. So back to the original point I was asking about Apocryphon. Fascinating electronics discussion though this is. How has this been useful to you in your journey through the subject that we cover? Because this is very closely associated with flat Earth because of people like Whitsitt and Dicelo in this example. And we're saying, okay, where's the practical use for this?
No, what does it have to do with ether?
If we tie it to ether, non sequitur though it may be, we're discussing ether. Now we're talking about electronics for whatever reason. Okay, why and how useful is this? Beyond me going out and doing some electronics engineering courses.
Right.
What's it got to do with ether?
What I said.
Well,
That's
I appreciate magnetics, but is that linked to ether in some way? Please explain the link.
I think because in the conversation when people talk about ether, at least in the groups, if you find yourself in one and you're just sitting around listening to everybody, usually all these different type of explanations come up as far as like all these different like kinetic energy, electromagnetism. They usually come up because the ether, I think it goes together in conversation, because I think when they start talking about the ether and this like total field, this force that's like going down and like it's creating, and then it's kind of like it's just an argument against gravity of it being a ball, mass attracting mass, or the bending of relativity, space and time, whatever. Like it's just like an argument against. So then I think they go hand in hand with when they talk about ether, because they always come up when talking about ether. Like you'll always hear someone mention it, only because then you have these forces or fields that are going along with the ether realm, if you will. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
What you're telling us is the progression from ether and a non-association, non sequitur with electronics, magnetism, and electromagnetism, and then a description that somehow is ether, which you didn't explicitly state, but I got the general idea that that's where they non sequitur you to when discussing ether.
Yeah. It kind of always leads to that. Yeah.
And then that is then used somehow to debunk gravity while simultaneously agreeing that there's a downward bias.
Right. That's usually what usually happens.
So it's confusing.
Usually.
So it's just a confusing convolution between electromagnetism, magnetism, and this non-defined, non-proven ether when debunking gravity. That's what's actually happening when you see these discussions that you like, correct?
I suppose so. I mean, obviously, like there's some people that you can't just say they understand it better, but they're way more well versed and more into it, or learned into it, should I say? But like, just because
Go ahead.
Just because they can, like explain it because they have a better understanding of it. It's still, like you said, like it still can be confusing to most people. But I don't want to discredit those who are looking into it and they are able to like explain it with confidence, because that's pretty awesome. If you are
we're back there, but I thought we covered this. So what have they explained with confidence?
As far as what they've been taught and the way they understand it to be working. Like how it makes sense that it isn't mass attracting mass or relativity. Huh? Well, I'm sorry, what was that? Yeah. Hello?
I'm trying to wrap my head around what use this has. That's all I'm trying to do.
Oh, overall, the ether?
Yeah.
I guess like to help you answer, because I think I ask myself the same question. If anything, I think it's just like I said, it's learning something else that you can then look into all the different things within that discussion. Like for instance, like now I'm looking more into like things that maybe an electrician would be looking into, like because of electromagnetism and like these fields and like all the way everything that has been learned a long time ago and carried down. But it's beneficial because I think the ultimately uh, striving for discovery and just knowledge in general is always a good thing. It it's also better in the sense of at least there's an alternative to what we've been indoctrinated to, because at least it leaves room for wiggle, or like for learning and understanding, and then like individually you can make your choice, as you know most people do, as to what's making sense, and maybe that might open up more doors to even find a third, maybe one day a third realm or third to some young explorer or mind that's like, but it kind of takes those little connections, those little firings of the synapses, if you will, like for you to even go down that journey. Like it's going to take you, you know, even questioning yourself, like, wait, what? Okay, well, if it's ether, it just sounds like a replacement for dark matter. But well, then what is it then? And it might, I don't know, might open up another door down the road. I don't know. It's a good
But
question, though.
when I asked you what you'd learned and where it had taken you to date, so far the only practical thing that you've given me is about electronics. I mean, I did a City and Guilds in electronic servicing. I've got a reasonable understanding of electronics, but I don't see how the interest in electronics would be connected to the nature of Earth, when that's technology. But it has been ham-handedly connected to the nature of Earth when it most assuredly isn't. And when I say what have you taken away from it, what's practically useful, you're like, well, an interest in electronics. Okay? That's so devoid from the nature of Earth question, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And I hear what you're saying. I think, though, I want to just throw this in there, if you don't mind. It's, for instance, like, there's this video that I saved on my phone. It was so freaking cool and interesting. You know, I mean, I probably came across it, it's been like a year now, but I also didn't come into this ether realm until I came around Discord either. Never even really heard of it. But there's this video that's showing you like how kinetic energy works. Like I didn't know that you can bend water, you know, with you know, the way the video shows it. There's like a stream, like a water faucet, and then they bend the water when they put a little like visible force. It's kinetic energy or whatever. But it's interesting because things like that I really love, and I get it. You know, it's not going to help my, you know, my cell phone get paid, but it's still interesting. Like it's intriguing to me because I love the science like that. I
You know,
love cool things
ballers
like that.
use that to bend the water and keep it on a planet. That's been thrown at me that video very early.
Wait a second. We got water benders here?
Yes.
Well, hold
It's
on
pretty cool.
Hold on. Everyone's got right.
about-
You've got John who wants to make a point. Apocryphon, if you can just hold fire while John makes a point. Go ahead, John. Refracted curvature.
You said something about an argument with gravity. Is this giving you a reason for why things fall down?
Yeah, that's actually another part of it too, in the sense of, because like it kind of makes sense. Like, you know, stepping on from the outside of this view, looking in, I think like if there is this magnetic force or whatever everywhere, this just naturally created, I guess they call them toroidal fields, and then the nature of that by nature, only because we could prove that on a small little magnet, like we could prove like the way it takes its shape and form, so there would be a natural driving downwards, if that makes sense, as it comes up underneath itself. But I mean, I don't know. I know that's the way it works. No,
You're nearly close.
But
You described. You gave it. Hold on. You gave the example, but you didn't link it to Earth and how you've learnt how that's applicable. That's what we're.
oh well, that if you could put that force in the middle of the earth, then it would create a downward force all over across it.
No.
Does that
Let me
make
just
sense?
summarize. Hello.
Hold on.
No, I just want to hear it, and then I can summarize it. I think I've got to the end, although it got a little interruption. So you're saying, because of the comparison of the magnetic example that you gave, you can assert that if Earth was the same, then we'd have the downward bias that you assume we do have, correct?
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
But we don't. We don't have a downward bias. What about clouds?
Yeah, no, I understand that. and vapor and gases and yeah, I know. But
So
then
now,
doesn't that go?
And hold
Doesn't
on,
that
Neil.
go?
And hold on. And because you were referring to the, it sounded like you were referring to Earth's magnetic field, but the Earth's magnetic field strength is 0.5 Gauss. And the refrigerator, your common refrigerator magnet that's holding enough stuff on your refrigerator is 100 Gauss. That refrigerator magnet is 200 times more powerful than the Earth's magnetic field.
Right.
Even if that wasn't the case, we don't have a downward bias to need explaining with a magnetic field. We just don't have one.
True. Very true.
Right. It seems like the only use. It seems like the only use is to argue this in false dichotomy with gravity. Is
Right.
what the only use of it is.
That was the conclusion I was driving towards, John. Do you want to just reiterate that? Because that's where I was actually trying to lead this. Correct?
Well, under the ether argument, seems like it is only in place to be held up in false dichotomy with gravity, is all I see. So that you can have an argument about a place that you don't exist in.
right, because everything
Neil, stop,
goes down.
Steele, Neil. I want to hear Apocryphon react to that beautiful, concise summary of what this is actually useful for. Do you see how I led him to what use he had for it? And now we at that point that's important. I don't need a second summary from you, Neil. Apocryphon.
I wasn't going to give a summary.
My God. Apocryphon. Now there's been an interruption. Do you need it summarizing again?
Yeah, say it again.
If you've John, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I've already said it twice.
Fine.
I feel like I'm kind of.
If it serves no purpose, that is to say, it isn't actually the case that we have a downward bias that needs explaining, as we've just gone through with you, then beyond any practical use that you could have inferred when asked and didn't, there is only one use this serves, and that is to have you as an Ethereum / flat earther, because obviously this argument ties back to flat earth because of the electricity and electromagnetism and earth, and the discovery that they're going on when they come to the debunking of gravity that this is useful for in discussion according to you, then the useful discussion for gravity would be the false dichotomy that benefits the globe to argue against an Ethereum if you both have a downward bias. Do you understand?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just one person calling something that they both agree to, but they're just calling it two different things. And that's very true.
Right.
That's not true at all.
Yeah.
That's not. That's not Ethereum. We need to make a distinction here between the silly ball theory of gravity and what we're doing here, which is just a very small, slight push to invoke direction of orientation for relative density disequilibrium to play out. There is a distinction here. Yes, gas does go down, go boom, boom. Yeah, but it's going down because of this very slight push. It's not an overreaching force that is the determinant. The determinant is still relative density disequilibrium, but the electric field and the way in which the current flows from the sky to the earth, it's that's setting the direction of orientation for relative density disequilibrium to play out.
Okay, thank you. So Adam's filled in the gaps. Oh, hold on. Adam's filled in the gaps between the change from having a magnetic field on Earth that's 0.6 Gauss versus 100 Gauss fridge magnet or whatever it was, and that being an electric field that flows towards the Earth to explain gas go down, go boom, boom, which we hadn't got into, but Adam's now inserted it, so it's all there. We've got every element now. Did you follow along with that, Apocryphon?
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, and do you understand that the explanation for the gas go down, go boom, boom isn't required? Because it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, back to my original question. Given that this, by example, only serves to have a false dichotomy argued out with a glober, what practical use has the ether discussion offered you thus far?
Well, I'll say it one more time. Again, going down that road of looking into it and hearing the discussions and stuff, it's opened up other areas. Because see, I'm an iron worker by trade, right? That's my career. So I never was interested in like what Sparkies are interested in. And is Steve here? Let me look. Is Steve here? Steve's a Sparky. Yeah. So Steve, he knows all about electronics, right? Electricity, should I say? I don't. I didn't know. I'm an iron worker. We don't deal with I'm not a Sparky. I'm not an electrician. But having that conversation with the people, as we have it, or just even listening to them talk about it, it did generate within myself like a sparked interest of what they're talking about. And as I looked into it, I do find myself looking more into like electronic books, and like because all that stuff seems to appear in those books. Um, it seems like there's a very well known. We have a good understanding on this stuff, as far as it looks, but I think that's what gives maybe even. And let me say this slowly. I think that's what maybe even gives it a bit of credit, because the things that they're talking about are things that we do understand and have been recorded and documented and experimented on and tested and stuff. So when they're incorporating it into it, it maybe just has a little bit more validity, because it is practical, it is useful in its own field. Does that make sense?
It does. In the same way as if I was to suggest that we studied the forces involved with tides and the frequency and amplitude thereof, and then ascribed a force of unicorns to the Earth and the tides that we experience, only for you to go out and look at the research that's actually been done on tides and go, wow, this has an air of credibility because people have actually researched electronics and it's a very well-established field. So when they talk about the electronic field of Earth, which it isn't, it's magnetic, it almost seems like they're talking about stuff that makes sense and has a relation to Earth when they tell me there's an ether. But in reality, they're just stealing the valor of electronics to lend some credence to what they say, by your estimation. Yes, that's exactly what they're
I get
doing.
What you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because it's kind of like, I mean, that's equivalent to like how they reverse engineered the Earth we're on and turned it into a globe model. It's kind of essentially the same thing, right?
No, because there's no connection between an electronic engineering course and a magnetic field in a very weak form that the Earth has. There's no connection.
I draw an analogy like this. It's a bit like got right into Narnia, okay? And when I was over in Narnia reading the books, what really interested me was these gas lamps, because I think, yeah. So I went and researched gas lamps, and I became an absolute expert at gas lamps, and know all about them now. And that validates to me a belief in Narnia, because now I know about gas lamps. And Narnia had gas lamps in their story. So now I've validated gas lamps. That adds credence to Narnia.
I get what you're saying.
Can you see why we would find the entire Ethereum movement highly objectionable, given that we're only interested in proving the nature of reality as flat, as opposed to speculation about how electronics do work to lend credence to how a magnetic field is directly translatable to an all-encompassing field that incorporates everything and potentially might give us free energy. Can you see how we would call fraud on that? Charlatanism?
I get what you're saying, but I did want to say something.
Can we just dwell on that for a second? Before we change the subject, could we just dwell on that for a moment? You know what I'm saying? When I say that you would appreciate why we would find that fraudulent and highly objectionable. You do understand why now we've broken it all down for you.
No, believe me, Nathan, I known ever since back when Dicelo used to come in here and you guys used to rip him a new asshole. Like, I definitely understood that the position of not talking about something as being an absolute of which you cannot absolutely prove is kind of like the main subjects, or should I say the main way that a lot of the conversations even happen here, which is what I think is respected because you're not letting someone just blow smoke up your ass with fancy words and these understandings that that they say they have and you don't. So I get what you're saying, the sentiment of it all. It's just I mean, it's just one of those things where, but it still exists. Those ether guys are still going to exist. The people that are listening are still going to exist. But oh, just real quick, you keep saying electronic. I think we're meaning to say electric, or am I wrong? I keep hearing you say electronic, but isn't it more electric, not electronic, or are they? Are you just kind of making them the same?
Same thing.
I was getting thrown off because you kept saying electronic, but I'm like, do you mean electric?
No, we're talking about electronics.
Yeah. Well, in electronics, yeah, there's electricity, but the magnetism part of it would be dealing with electric, not electronic, because
Even though it
obviously
isn't.
electronic
But it isn't.
No.
But it isn't. So this is
Oh,
where
okay.
I stopped the panel for a considerable amount of time to let you really reiterate that false impression that the Etherites have left you with. That's just not the case. They've used it to bait and switch you. It's the same technique used to sell snake oil. Do you know what dermatology is? Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
So if I was really, really knowledgeable about dermatology and about skincare, for instance, and I told you all about it, and then sold you some snake oil, that's what's happening here with electronics. And a really good understanding of stuff that you can verify, and it seems, wow, these people are credible. Look how verified this electronic information about electronic forces and magnetism is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's snake oil salesmen. That's what they are. We're trying to weed them out.
Yeah, let's see if this works. This is how Stuff Sees works. Let's go through this on another level. Before we go too much further, we should discuss how electromagnets differ from your run-of-the-mill permanent magnets, like the ones holding your popsicle art to the fridge. As you know, magnets have two poles, north and south, and attract things made of steel, iron, or some combination thereof. Like poles repel and opposites attract. For example, if you have two bar magnets with their ends marked north and south, the north end of one magnet will attract the south end of the other. On the other hand, the north end of one magnet will repel the north end of the other. An electromagnet is the same way, except it is temporary. Magnetic field only exists when electric current is flowing. End of citation.
Right. Yeah. I agree. That's what it said in the definition. Yeah.
So is Earth a giant battery with a circuit and electricity flowing through it?
It does.
It is.
Seem that way.
It's the ether, right? Do you understand where this is all going?
Yeah. No. Definitely. And see, here's the thing, though. Here's what I would like to ask. So in looking into it, and then you learn, like, that there's a ground and there's a positive charge and negative, like all these different charges going on. It's creating lightning and all this cool stuff. It creates even the downward, push and all that stuff, even the upwards, all that stuff. It's really amazing. So dynamic our world is. But with that being said, if it's not this electric, dynamic, magnetic, like how maybe even other things you could throw on there, if it's not that, then what is it?
It's an all or nothing fallacy.
Wait, you said downward again. Hold on. He said downward again.
It's an all or nothing fallacy. Do you know what that means? Oh my God. Go on, Neil.
No,
you've got a great point to make. Go ahead. Go on, Neil.
He said downward again.
I know he
downward?
did. Yes.
I'm asking where the downward is.
Yes, he slipped it in there. I heard. I paid attention. Thank you.
Right after that,
yes.
Yeah, well, I could dwell on that bit. If I wanted to, I'd have probably interrupted to dwell on the fact that he slipped in the downward bit with the electricity bit and the dynamic world, followed by an all or nothing fallacy. No, there is electricity in the world, and we do have a dynamic system. And electricity, if you want to refer to the electrical storms that you used, then fine. Yeah, they are still there. It's not that because we're saying there isn't a downward bias created by a magnetic/electromagnetic field that needs us to look into electronics to give credibility to this idea. It doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a downward bias anymore, or that there isn't going to be a world that exists the way we know it because of the predetermined requirement for an ether to have our world exist as it exists.
Right. I agree. We honestly don't know.
Okay, we got. Well, okay,
Huey first.
Nah, go ahead, Adam.
Stick with the analogy again. You're insisting that a wardrobe must be the methodology of travel because you still believe in Narnia. Yeah. So if Narnia still exists, there must be a downward force. Yeah. But this is the point. You're believing in a downward force, which is Narnia. Now, if there is a downward force and it's not gravity, then the wardrobes must still be the methodology of travel. You're having to invoke something that's not even there or demonstrable. You seem stuck with a need to invoke something, a need to notice that there is this this voltage difference. Okay, this electropotential difference. Why do you have to take that and mean it invokes a downward force? Why? Why do you need a downward force?
Let him answer. Go ahead. It's a question. Let him answer. It's not rhetorical.
Well, it seems like because there are. I know, though we say more just density and buoyancy for a lot of those reasons why something's going to fall through the air and crash to the ground, but that whole, I guess maybe I don't know if we're using this the same way. Maybe we are, but that downward doesn't necessarily mean something's pulling it or even like squishing it or pushing it. It's just the fact that there is a direction, if you will.
Right.
And that's where things tend to go.
He's nearly there. Just let him get to the end of the statement. There is a downward. Go ahead.
So with that, I think what's at question here is the force behind it or in front of it or what at the side of it.
Okay, go ahead, Adam.
How have you?
I got cut off.
Now,
but go ahead.
I don't think you answered my question. You just reaffirmed the invocation that this electropotential is the cause. Now, you're not saying a force, you're just invoking causation for orientation of RDD to play out. Right? I'm asking you why this electropotential difference is now your causation. Why? Where is that link? Other than the fact that it's there and you want a reason for causation of orientation for RDD, why are you drawing the link between the two?
Why did you give? He never said any electropotential difference. You gave that to him. He just said lightning bolts.
He invoked
lightning bolts.
And look, QE's correct. Let's acknowledge that. Yes, that's correct. He just said lightning bolts and therefore down when he was describing the lightning bolts. That's how he slipped it in, and Neil picked up on it and highlighted it while I wanted it left in the background till it was needed later. QE's now pointing out. Absolutely correct. Yeah, he has. He didn't use that. Adam's got a better knowledge and has filled in the blanks again to keep this concise and with all the information so Ethereans after the fact can't come in and go, no, when he said the lightning, he meant... I don't want that. Well done, Adam. Yes. Props. However, now we've segued away from the question that was so eloquently put by Adam to him with the filling in of the blanks that our opponent didn't give us. Correct, QE. Can you give him the question again, though? Because he didn't answer it, Adam. You're right. Where's the link?
Where's the link between what exactly? Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
See, that's what happens, QE. See? Go ahead, Adam.
Let me clarify that. So you said there has to be a causation for orientation. So why does RDD play out? And as a Ethereum, I would cite that electropotential between Earth and sky, the way in which that flows, is the causation for orientation. That's what's been cited. I'm asking you why. What is the convincer? Is it just the fact that they appear to be going in the same direction, even if we ignore gases? Yeah. Why is there a link there for you? What is the link between those two disparate things?
I'm not exactly sure what answer you're looking for, but let me just answer what I'm thinking you're saying. The link is the observable phenomenon of this direction. I could be wrong. I might be talking out the side of my neck and not know. Maybe that's not what you want to hear. But I would say the link between what we're talking about and why I'm saying it that way is because that's what is observed. And that I thought
Are you
was
talking?
why.
You keep on
He's
saying, I'm
answering.
sorry.
He's saying he's answering.
I'm
Adam's
sorry.
already.
What is he talking about?
I'll
Be
tell you.
specific.
I'm following
What
along because Adam's asked him. He's saying, Adam's asked, what connects your assumption of an orientation, in this case down, with lightning going down, just so QE doesn't get triggered again. And he's trying to connect it and answered, which Adam already qualified. Is it just because it is already going down in that instance? And the answer is yes. Yeah, it's just because it is going down, Adam. According to him. I got that, but QE's like, why aren't you answering? He is.
Listen, I just wanted to be more specific on the what's and the things and the it's. Can you be, don't say it's, be hyper specific, please, because I'm getting frustrated with this nonsense.
So we have a supposed correlation between...
Not you, him.
Yeah, well, let me just re-specify. So we've got a supposed correlation between the electric field of the Earth and
an electric field.
The direction that an object which is denser than the medium it's in, if it's taken out of equilibrium, and then released, the direction that that denser object will go, that's the correlation we're drawing. And now we're invoking causation from that correlation. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Huh? What electric field? I'd like to stop. A point of order, Your Honor. What electric field are we talking about? Where is it?
Magnetic field.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because it's the.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It's critical.
matter.
Stop.
Because you're a bit thick and you're not listening.
I do get it.
Yeah.
Stop. QE's absolutely bang on. Because where's the connection? Well, it's because electronics are magnets, aren't they, QE?
Now, listen, somebody's just said correlation. Because when I drop something, it goes down and lightning goes down. That is now sufficient for me to take that correlation and describe it as causation. That's what I just heard admitted.
Correct. That's what he admitted. Yes, we got there at the end.
Always go down.
Thank you. Thank you, QE. Thank you.
Please listen to the underlying logic of what is supporting this. So I know lightning can go, it doesn't matter. Correlation
Lightning
is now
does go
causation.
sideways.
It's sufficient to move forwards within this belief.
Correct.
That's the underlying principle.
And he's gone through that. That's the logic I've positioned you, Apocryphon, as an audience member to this garbage. And you're telling us how you've gone through your progression as an audience member, and you're now very graciously parroting it back to us and summarizing how you come to that correlation. Right? Well, Adam's just summarized it. I'm sorry, QE, and I'm sorry, John. And you're both right. Yeah, lightning goes up. Okay, fine. So does rain.
It does. Yeah. It
Anyway,
goes sideways too.
It wouldn't matter either way. The point is you're drawing that correlation falsely. That's Adam's point. But you, as the person who has this belief in this scenario, I'm not accusing you of anything, has verbally pointed that out to us. Don't get me wrong, we've led you for quite a while, but I'm grateful you've done that, so Adam can now have his disdain with perfect justification for it. Go ahead, Adam. Reiterate your point. He's gone to get coffee, hasn't he? What a bastard.
No, I haven't gone to get coffee. I've made the point. It was hard to get there, but that is exactly the validation that you're using.
But Adam,
okay, hang on.
But just real quick, just real quick though, Adam, I wanted to address something because I think it's kind of being misrepresented here. It wasn't the downwards of of lightning, I do want to correct this because it might have sounded that way, but it was just the downwards of anything observing going down. But when it get a phone call, I got to I'll cut it off. Sorry about that.
Downward observing of stuff sees going downsies. Is that what you said?
Stuff sees going downsies. And but the reason why lightning came in is because I was talking about that's back when I was saying like that there's electricity and the positives and the negatives. I only mentioned electricity not because it's shooting down, because you're right, it goes up, it goes sideways. That wasn't the downsies, going upsies things. QE. Everything else though, observably, I think when it's dropping or coming down.
What else? Everything else is going down?
Because
why, yeah, wait
I
a
just wanted to
second.
correct that.
Why mention it?
Why mention it in your discussion?
Because I was talking about
please.
Because I was talking about the electricity in the sky.
What is your specific claim?
That's why I tried to correct it for him. The correlation isn't the direction of lightning, because as you correctly say, it's the electric potential voltage as described by Bob when we talk about the number of, is it 100 millivolts per meter? It's that electric potential direction that is the correlation for causation of orientation of relative equilibrium.
But that's what it's describing.
But that's Bob. That's not Apocryphon. He never said anything about that, which was my point.
No, I'm trying to keep it, from my point of view, just to give the understood Ethereum position.
Yeah, but we were listening to Apocryphon and what he understood from the Ethereum position. That's the whole point. So I want to know what just what is Apocryphon's claim as hyper specific as it can be.
I don't want to do that. No offense to you, QE. Normally I'd agree with you, but in this instance, I've positioned Apocryphon as the third-party observer, like Adam was originally. What have you learned from the Ethereum's Apocryphon? Whereas you're putting him in a position, what is your claim? Well, for him to be humble enough to go through it with us, for Adam to then fill in the blanks, as he's been doing, makes it concise with their rhetoric. So the electrical potential difference has a downward bias, and that correlation is where this gets connected to all things, including gas go down, go boom, boom. Why? Well, because there's simply something there that has a potential difference that can be described as down. Therefore, that's why. That's the reason. That's why he told us.
You sidestep that. You guys still want to give them their potential when he said nothing of the sort. So I'll reword this for Apocryphon. What do the Etherites tell you their claim is? Hyper specifically, please.
Say electrical potential difference. Go on.
Yeah, well, that sounds like Dicelo would say that for sure. And before I answer, QE, if you don't mind, I want to make something very clear. Okay. This whole ether discussion, I am probably the worst person to talk about it with, because I'm not well learned in it at all. I'm the worst representative for any of them, to be honest. But I'm, in my opinion. But again, hyper specific. What have I learned from it? It has taken me into learning more about electricity, magnetism, kinetic energy, because I feel that is where the conversation has gone.
We've done this
a lot of the time.
We've covered this. If you read Narnia books and you become an expert in gas lamps, you're going to thank C.S. Lewis.
But magnetism's not Narnia books, though.
It is.
Electromagnetics. Electrostatics is not Narnia.
No, we're not talking about magnetism. That's real. We're talking about you keep giving plaudits to ether because you learned something about electronics or electrics. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Your knowledge in the gas lamp, no credit is worthy of C.S. Lewis. Yeah, your false attribution to the, and this is, you said you're not. The reason you're really interesting a point here is you clearly have no knowledge in it, but you are
not like those guys.
Let me finish because I don't. It's not an insult. It's not an insult. You've clearly got very little knowledge in the subject, as you've just admitted to. But The reason I'm interested is because you are still holding it up as some form of possibility. So someone who's interested, wants to learn more, is still engaging in something that they can't justify and can see is nonsensical. But why are you still supporting it? That's why I'm thanking you for your time to explain this to us, because that's what I'm finding interesting. Why you have any interest in this
horse in the race, cart in the horse. Again, the reason why I'm still intrigued by it, because there is a lot of interesting information within the discussion of it. Now, I get what you're saying. If the ether is the Narnia, and then you have a gas lamp, though, so then all of a sudden, like, oh, we know the gas lamp's real, so Narnia must be real. I get what you're saying. We know electrostatics is real, so that mean ether is real. I understand what you mean by that, but for me personally, what if I just like the gas lamps in Narnia? I know Narnia is fake. Let's say for by
There it
discussion,
is.
but
That's therein. Let me just
love the gas.
Hello, stop. Therein lies your value. You're like, I'm not the best person to advocate for the ether. Maybe not. That's not relevant. You're, as an onlooker, you have been intrigued by it enough to become not involved, but to say it has worth. And I like the ether lamp in Narnia idea. It's fantastical, and I like that. That's what it offers you. That's very honest, and that's what I accredit to them. What they're offering people is fantasy. It's very enticing, and you have been enticed by it. Good. I'm glad you've told us. I'm not expecting you to be a good Etherite representative. I'm expecting you to represent the people who watch the Etherites, disseminate the information, and explain to us how that has enticed you, and it has.
Yeah, like I said, it definitely has sparked interest in put it this way, I have now interest in fields that I probably never would have even looked into because
you told us this 10 times already. 10 times.
Right.
Yes, you're into electronics now and magnetism. But what the fuck is ether?
That's right.
Whatever it is, Neil, you see, it isn't.
Calm down.
It's not being recognised as the continuance of the pursuit of truth. What's just been admitted is it's entertaining. We recognise it's a bit naughty, it's fantasy, it's not improvable, but it's entertaining to listen to. So where does it sit? It sits in the worse than the feast of nonsense.
And there is decent stuff that you can verify in terms of how magnetism works. You can double check it, or it's all true. Amazing, huh?
Well, like I said, there's it's just another argument. I think on the other side of that coin, if you will. And true, you can sit in a position where you believe in neither.
Another argument. Sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. What is another argument, and what's the two sides of the coin?
That's what I was going to ask.
Exactly.
What are the two sides of the coin that you feel it's another side to?
So if you have, for instance, if there's an argument between two people, one believes that mass attracts mass, or general relativity, whatever, and they believe that this is why the universe is, and there's dark matter and dark energy. That's their whole argument. And on the other side of that coin, there's someone that says, no, it's not that. It's this thing called ether, and those two are going back and forth until they're blue in the face. But I understand there's also another position people can take and be like, well, they're both wrong, and that's not what it is either way. I get that. I know that. I acknowledge that. I firmly believe that that's probably more accurate, because both people, they're doing a good job in explaining what they believe in and what they're coming to understand or learning. But
explaining
at the end of the day,
I grant you. I don't mean to interrupt you. Grant you, but you said they do a good job explaining their beliefs. So what you just said
what they believe
is
to be true.
They're explaining their lack of evidence for something they are attracted to, or that they accept.
Yes, and furthermore, what you've just described with the two sides of the coin being Newtonian mass attracting mass, we broke down earlier as being the only actual use for this practically, which is to offer the globe as a false dichotomy with gravity. And here you are saying, well, it's really useful because it offers you two sides of the coin. What, the false dichotomy two sides that we went through earlier when we said it's useful for globe positioning of gravity against a downward bias in ether? And you're saying that's the useful aspect that you took away from it? other than electronics and
No.
electronic engineering and electricity and magnetism, which are all real subjects that you can study that have no valor to offer within the ether subject. None.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's because it's way deeper than that, way more than that.
Right. So people are just stealing the valor of the subject of magnetism, electronics, electricity, electromagnetism, and then ascribing it to a whimsical idea that offers a false dichotomy for gravity. That's the succinct summary of what ether actually offers in our arena. That's what it is.
You got it. Somebody clip that. That's exactly what it is. You got it.
With the interruption from Neil, including the interruption, shall I clip it with that interruption?
Oh, shut up.
Apocryphon, can I ask you a quick question? If there was, and I think there is, a debate between a gravity believer and an ether believer, even though you kind of realize they're both talking with unsubstantiated, would you find it entertaining to listen to both sides debate that?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think there you go.
Trying to help you.
Yeah.
He would find
We're not trying to help him. He's helping us. He's helping
frustrating.
me put this across to the audience from a point of view of somebody who's gone, I'm going to watch Globebusters this week. That's all you are, right? You've got no skin in this race, right, Apocryphon? You couldn't care less either way, but you're interested in it. You've made that clear.
Right.
Perfect. You're just what we need. You're more valuable than you realise. You think your value is in understanding the ether, which is totally ununderstandable. I could read out my poem to you. Believe me, you're never going to be in that position. Nobody's ever going to sit in front of me and say, I am an authority in ether. No, you're going to be an authority in snake oil salesmanship and nothing more.
Well, I appreciate it. Glad I could help.
Well, you absolutely did. You absolutely did. As did Neil. Neil's disdain is very much worthy, as much as we're all saying, no, Neil, don't interrupt. No, his disdain is our disdain. He echoes that sentiment in the most verbal, outright way he can, and I thank Neil for it too.
Is there do you, let me ask you something now that it's 2024. Do you think that we are due for another change or another turn of like what we believe in that grand scale of things?
Yes, absolutely, without question. That's my main idea through moving into 2024. Yes, because we shouldn't be believing Earth is flat when it's measured flat, demonstrably flat, navigated flat. All of the maps have been developed from flat Earth systems. The stars are being measured and the angles off the Earth are flat. Everything about it is flat, including the way the globe uses it. So that's how we should be moving forward rather than figuring out our beliefs about ether.
Right. I hear you. Yeah, I've been getting into a lot of discussion. I've been getting into a lot of discussions lately with guys that think they know how to use theodolites and surveying equipment, and they're so far off. It's amazing, and maybe that's where I feel very confident talking about, as opposed to like the ether. I don't feel comfortable at all talking about it, but when it comes to like stuff that I do like with my own hands and I work with and understand it perfectly, like the way it's supposed to be, like that's where I'm very confident in. And I'll argue with those guys.
Hold on. Last comment. You're a builder,
round
right?
and round we go, because we all dealt with the theodolite nonsense back in 2016 with Jesse Kozlowski and the other numpties that were circling them. So now we're just going to round and round we go. We're going to start talking about theodolites again. I'm not talking about you, Apocryphon. I'm talking about the horse shit from the numpties, right? Because it's gravity, it's theodolites. We're doing that. No, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do what Nathan just said. Tell him again, Nathan.
Tell him it's measured flat. Tell him how that is how the world functions for us and you. And to quote refracted curvature, you guys, in parentheses, globe believers, need a flat plane more than we do. Because they're the ones going around making all the positive assertions, where we make very few. And all of their positive assertions require flat planes. So we as flat earthers just need to assert that which can be agreed upon on both sides. Earth is measured flat. As opposed to dealing with people's beliefs and saying this belief's justified because I've got an electronics education out of it. stunned silence. I absolutely love it. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifting out memberships, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!